Chapter 274. As long as we kill that human cultivator, the puppets will stop moving. This is the fastest way for us to break out of this situation. The Coral Reaper god spoke in a panicked voice after dodging the Gundam's particle sword. I'll use a mystic technique to trap the puppets. You two attack together and kill that human cultivator. The Overlord whale's eyes glowed with a purple light. Its body suddenly expanded at a rapid rate as its aura climbed steadily. A monstrous wave of black mist surged forth in all directions. Overlord's domain, Myriad Demon Lock. The Overlord whale let loose a long roar as the black mist materialized into a myriad of substantial chains that hurtled toward the two Gundams. The Gundam unleashed a light sword to shatter the chains, while the other Gundam even unleashed an energy cannon to shatter the chains. However, the black chains were like an inescapable net. They were endless and multiplied endlessly, trapping the two Gundams. Boundless sea bind. The myriad wave demon emperor's body squirmed violently as countless threads capable of slicing through steel shot forth from the giant white cocoon toward Bailien like an indestructible white wave. Soon, Bailien was trapped in a ball of threads. Lightning crackled within her body, but she was unable to break through this iron wall. The divine wind demon monarch spread its wings and flew toward the city wall. The two Emperor-level sea monsters, the divine wind demon monarch and the Coral Reaper god, charged toward Lin with monstrous auras. That's right, they only needed a split second to kill this human cultivator and turn the tables. The attacks of the Pearl soldiers were like mere tickles to them, and the divine wind demon monarch's silver wings tore through the city wall's defensive formation with ease. Die, human cultivator. The Coral Reaper god unleashed a green poison, which transformed into a massive green skull. It opened its pitch-black mouth and pounced toward Lin, who was in the middle of a breakthrough. Xiao, Cho, and Dubai charged toward Lin, and black flames and wind blades slashed through the air toward the green skull. Boom! The green skull was pulverized into a cloud of green smoke as if it had been struck by a heavy blow. Xiao, Cho put on his Azure Battle Luo mask and unleashed his aura to block the Coral Reaper god's attack. However, the divine wind demon monarch was already upon them. If the clown and the others hadn't retreated, they would have been smashed to death by a soul formation intermediate stage attack. However, regardless of whether it was Xiao, Cho, or Dubai, both of them chose to stand in front of Lin with determined expressions. The divine wind demon monarch charged forward with an unstoppable force and was about to crush everything in front of it into minced meat. Boom! A golden bolt of lightning descended from the sky like a sharp sword that tore through the sky. It broke through the domain of the divine wind and smashed heavily on its head. Ah! The divine wind demon monarch let out a blood-curdling scream as his body plummeted to the ground as if he had been crushed by Mount Tai. Rumble! The sea demons on the ground were flattened by the divine wind demon monarch's body, creating a huge pit with a radius of over 1,000 feet. Blood flowed from its head, and Bei Lian stood on its head with a cold expression on her face. Bei Lian's aura was extremely powerful, and crimson lines flickered like pulses all over her body. Golden lightning enshrouded her entire body, exuding a terrifying lightning power. Who would have thought that I would have to use this mystic technique after all? A cold voice, tinged with melancholy, sounded. A forlorn smile appeared on Xiao Longnu's face. She didn't think that she would have to use her mystic technique for the sake of a measly cultivator. Myriad Chong, what the hell are you doing? The divine wind demon monarch was both shocked and enraged. It didn't think that Bei Lian would suddenly appear just as it was about to succeed. A hole had already been blasted into the Myriad Chong demon monarch's white spherical cage, and white smoke was rising from it. White lightning began to erupt from the divine wind demon monarch's body as it charged toward Xiao Longnu. Xiao Longnu was enshrouded within the golden lightning, and the white lightning was repelled upon striking the golden lightning, as if it had encountered a higher level of lightning. At the same time, Xiao Longnu's fists whistled mercilessly toward the divine wind demon monarch. Each and every punch was like a bolt of divine lightning, causing the earth to tremor violently. The divine wind demon monarch's anguished wails rang out incessantly. Right at this moment, Enlin opened his tightly shut eyes, and the inky black, evil-slaying sword in his hand began to tremble lightly. The Coral Reaper, who was being held back by the clown, saw Enlin stand up and spread open his white wings. In the blink of an eye, Enlin appeared behind it, and silk-like streams of wind revolved around his black long sword. The Coral Reaper's eyes widened, and it felt a chill run down its neck. And then there was no more, and then its black head slowly slid off and blood gushed forth. And Lin could feel the energy coursing through his body. When he was only of the spirit-nurturing initial stage, he was already on the brink of exhaustion after using the wind sword once. Now that he was of the spirit-nurturing final stage, his sea of vital energy had expanded by several times, and the beast core's vital energy absorption was also extremely efficient. He could probably use a powerful technique like the wind sword 5 or 6 times. The myriad Chong demon monarch's white body had already disappeared into the black clouds, and Lin saw Bei Lian, who was surrounded by golden lightning, and beneath her feet was the divine wind demon monarch, who had been pummeled to death. Bei Lian tilted her head and smiled at Enlin. Crimson lines shimmered on her snowy skin. "Are you all right?" And Lin's heart trembled, and he shook his head. "I'm fine. Hurry up and withdraw your mystic technique." He spread open his white wings of wind and soared into the sky, flying toward the Overlord whale that had trapped his 2 Gundams. And Lin's heart was filled with rage and remorse. He had underestimated the abilities of these Emperor-level sea monsters. Who would have thought that he would almost die during his breakthrough? Not only did he almost get Dabai and Clown Dabai killed, but Bei Lian had also used a mystic technique on him. He had seen this mystic technique in Xin Yin's recording. It was a mystic technique that sacrificed the purity of one's bloodline. Once used, one's bloodline would become mottled, making it extremely difficult for one's cultivation base to progress, and Lin charged toward the Overlord whale. The Overlord whale had already escaped to the shore, and tens of thousands of black chains pounced toward Lin like snakes upon seeing him. Third technique, 100 sword technique. The evil-slaying sword flew into the air. Vital energy surged, and 99 white celestial swords suddenly appeared in the air. As soon as the celestial swords appeared, there seemed to be countless streaks of sword intent sweeping through the sky, causing the space around them to tremble. A frosty river swept through heaven and earth. Each of the white celestial swords was extremely condensed and imbued with extremely powerful energy. "Go!" And Lin pointed a finger, and the 99 celestial swords whistled toward the Overlord whale. The Overlord whale sensed an extremely powerful threat of death, and the black chains changed the trajectory of its attack toward Lin, forming layers of defensive barriers in front of it. Rumble! The white celestial swords were imbued with the power to slice through heaven and earth, shattering the layers of black chains. The ocean behind the Overlord whale was also sliced in half by the sword intent. Unstoppable! Right before the Overlord whale's astonished eyes, the 99 celestial swords completely shattered the black chain's defensive barrier, transforming into white sword projections that pierced through its massive body. Blood gushed forth. Howl! The Overlord whale howled in anguish. The final sword, the evil-slaying sword, was as black as ink. It left a deathly black trail in its wake before puncturing the Overlord whale's head like a comet crashing into the moon. The heaven-piercing sword intent sliced through the ocean behind the Overlord whale for over 6,000 feet. Boom! The Demon Emperor Overlord whale's life force was severed, and it plummeted into the ocean. The evil-slaying sword flew back to Enlin's side after drinking the blood of the 3 demon emperors. Now that's more like my master. A cold, indifferent voice sounded in Enlin's mind. A smile appeared on Enlin's face. This seemed to be the first time the evil-slaying sword had spoken to him. However, he didn't have the time to tease little Xie right now. The 100 sword strikes were extremely taxing on his vital energy, and he was already showing signs of exhaustion. He hurriedly swallowed a spirit blood pill before making his way toward Beilian. Of the 5 emperor-level sea monsters, 4 had died and 1 had fled. All of the sea monsters were dumbstruck. Under the relentless retaliation of Dabai the Clown and the Pearl Army, the sea monster army soon began to flee, and the battle gradually drew to a conclusion. Bei Lian stood atop the divine wind demon monarch's head and looked at the man making his way toward her with a complex expression. She didn't think that a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator would be able to slay emperor-level sea monsters, and she certainly didn't think that a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator would possess such astonishing swordsmanship. As a prodigy of the Dragon Court, she silently labeled Enlin as a prodigy. Enlin stowed the 2 Gundams back into his storage ring before making his way toward Bei Lian with an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry," Bei Lian faltered slightly before a smile appeared on her face. "You should apologize. You were too reckless, and you even needed me to save you." Enlin nodded and refrained from saying, "I was a burden to you in order to use your mystic technique." Perhaps Bei Lian didn't want others to know that her bloodline was already tainted. This was her pride. If she didn't say anything, Enlin would just pretend that he didn't know. In reality, Enlin had learned from Shen Yin's projection that there was an ancient method that could refine one's bloodline. Shen Yin had once sacrificed her bloodline when the 6 Paths demon and god invaded the Dragon Court, and she then tried to find a way to refine and activate her bloodline. However, this method was quite difficult to refine and activate, so Enlin decided to tell Bei Lian only when he was close to success. "Let's go, Dragon Princess." All right. Chapter 275. Within the 7 demon realms, within an area enshrouded in white mist, there was an island that glowed with a purple light. The huge white chrysalis passed through the mist and slowly landed on the island. "Myriad Wave Demon Emperor, why are you the only one back? Where are the other emperors?" A white demonic bear exuding a chilling aura asked. An opening appeared on the gigantic white chrysalis, and a huge white butterfly flew out from it. It looked at the bear and flaming dragon before it. "Dead, they're all dead." "All 4 of them are dead?" The flaming dragon was shocked. "Did you encounter the Dragon Court Divine Position Team?" The butterfly shook its head. "No, we encountered a powerful horned dragon. If it was just her, we wouldn't have failed. Most importantly, we encountered a human cultivator." The butterfly spoke with lingering fear in its heart as it recounted all of the inconceivable things about that human cultivator. He possessed a metal puppet comparable to a soul formation stage cultivator. His sword techniques were superb. He was able to slay the Crimson demonic emperor at the spirit-nurturing intermediate stage, and he was able to kill the Overlord whale with a single strike. The white bear and flaming dragon both fell silent upon hearing this. How could there be a human cultivator like this? After a moment of silence, the white bear spoke with a grave expression. "In that case, the 10 spirit blood sacrifice formation is still missing 1 tribe, the Pearl tribe. On the ground there was a formation composed of blood that glowed with a peculiar light. This formation encompassed the entire island, and the blood was like the most complex network that flowed slowly. The blood would not dry up, and it flowed endlessly on the purple land." The butterfly heaved a forlorn sigh. "The Crimson Demonic Emperor wanted to bring us to the final step of the 10 spirit blood sacrifice formation. Who would have thought that we would encounter something like this? Could this be fate? This was just an accident. There's still 15 days until the Holy One is resurrected. We still have a chance." The flaming dragon spoke in a solemn voice. "This time, I'll take the containment bead with me. I'll find a city in the Pearl Kingdom and suck away 10,000 Pearl Tribe living beings. I don't believe we'll be so unlucky again." The butterfly and the white bear heaved a sigh of relief. The flaming dragon was the fastest among the 7 emperors. It was a piece of cake for him to use the containment bead to abduct 10,000 Pearl Tribe living beings. Within Bolon City, an earth-shattering battle that would go down in the annals of the Pearl Kingdom had just concluded. Bai Lian had returned to the Pearl Kingdom and had crushed her jade talisman to ask for reinforcements from the Divine Guardian Squad. Seeing that the battle was over, she sent a message to the Divine Guardian Squad and requested them to continue searching for the myriad wave demon emperor in the 7 devilish regions. The moon set and the sun rose. In less than a day, the news of the 4 demonic emperors being beheaded outside Bolon City had spread throughout the entire Pearl Kingdom. Then, in the Pearl Kingdom, and Lin had accidentally become the hero of the Pearl Kingdom again. He and Xiao Longnu were called the Pearl Twins by the group of pearls, and Lin felt like this title wasn't bad. It was much better than titles like Poison Lord and Backdoor Entrant, and it was second only to Lin's title of Sword Immortal. Within the Pearl King's garden, Lin once again saw Bai Lian, who was squatting beside the lake and playing with the little fish. "Hello, Dragon Star!" And Lin greeted her with a smile. Bai Lian raised her head to look at the man walking toward her with a smile on his face. Then she lowered her eyes and continued to play with the goldfish by the lake with her tree branch. However, her lips were slightly parted as she blew a puff of air toward the goldfish in the lake, creating a series of ripples. However, not only were the goldfish not scared away, they attracted even more fish to her. "Looks like you're quite popular. Even the fish like you so much." And Lin walked over to her with a hint of surprise. Bai Lian ignored him and continued to play with the water in the lake. And Lin also blew a puff of air at the fish in the lake, and a few of them were blown away. Why do they dislike me? Do I have bad breath? But I just brushed my teeth. A faint smile appeared on Bai Lian's face. Fish have a natural affinity with the dragon tribe. So, of course, they're different. Oh, right? Why did you call me Dragon Star? It's rumored that we're the Pearl Twins of the Pearl Kingdom. So, of course, I'll call you the Pearl Twins. And Lin wore a smug expression, as if he were about to make a name for himself. Bai Lian nodded. The Pearl Tribe is a very kind-hearted tribe. Our battle last night was worth it to be remembered by them. I heard that the king also bestowed a bunch of treasures to us. They'll probably be here in 2 days. And Lin turned to look at the woman beside him. The woman's expression was indifferent, and it was impossible to read her emotions. And Lin continued, "You also saved my life last night. I'll give you a big present next time." Bai Lian shook her head lightly. "There's no need for that. You and I were comrades at the time, so isn't it normal for us to help each other in battle?" And Lin seemed to have anticipated this outcome and didn't insist. He pulled out a talisman from his pocket with a smile. "Then leave me a voice transmission talisman." Bai Lian was a little surprised. A ripple flashed through her eyes, and she couldn't help but ask, "Why?" Let's meet again in the future." "All right." Bai Lian had never exchanged voice transmission talismans with another man before. She hesitated for a moment, but she still inscribed her own voice transmission talisman on Lin's voice transmission talisman. And Lin heaved a sigh of relief after successfully exchanging phone numbers and prepared to proceed with his next plan. After returning to his room, he wrote down the items he needed to collect. 1,000-year moon-sinking wood, ancient purple vine, true blood of the winged dragon, dark ice crystal, desolate firebone, divine white herb, and Lin, Dabai, and Xiao Chou looked at the items on the list and recalled their locations. Dabai was a little distressed. "We've seen Xin Yin's experience, but it's not a complete picture. Purifying and activating one's bloodline is extremely important to Xin Yin, so the picture is relatively complete. However, many things have probably been buried after so many years. And Lin took a deep breath. We already know the coordinates anyway, so we have to try. If we can't find them, then we'll buy them. If there's really no other way, then we'll give this list to Bai Lian and ask her to help us search for them. Bai Lian had sacrificed herself to save him, and Enlin wanted to make up for it through his own efforts rather than relying on her power. Many of the items on the list were extremely valuable. Even if they were sold in the auction house or the treasure pavilion, they would definitely be sold for astronomical prices. And Lin's little sunny egg would probably be unable to bear it. The next day, the king's rewards arrived. 1,000,000 spirit stones, a pile of exotic plants and earthly treasures, as well as many precious stones and jewels. And Lin sold everything that he could to the Pearl King. In the end, he sold the pile of items for 1,000,000 spirit stones, which was quite a substantial sum. He did some calculations and found that there were 470 spirit stones in his storage ring, which was quite a sizable sum. Bai Lian recuperated for a while before bidding farewell to Enlin. I'm not going to travel for now. I'm going back to the Dragon Court. Sure, I'll come to the Dragon Court to play with you in a while. And Lin knew why she wasn't going to travel, and he bade farewell to her with a smile. Bai Lian shook her head, and a mesmerizing smile appeared on her face. You'd better not come to the Dragon Court. It's embarrassing. And Lin, the two of them bade farewell. Thus, Enlin began his journey of treasure hunting. Chapter 276. Enlin, Dabai, and Xiao Cho walked out of the city gate, surrounded by a large group of pearls. The beauty of Bo Lan City, Chi-Chi, was also among the group. She waved goodbye to them in a loud voice. Senior Enlin, if you ever come to the Pearl Kingdom again, I'll be your tour guide for free. A knowing smile appeared on Enlin's face, and he waved a hand before flying toward the ocean on Dabai's back, disappearing from everyone's line of sight. Their first stop was near Green Island in the East Sea. The 1,000-year moon sinking wood was there. There is a moon-sinking tree at the bottom of the sea, 14 kilometers to the east of Green Island. At the time, Shen Yin couldn't bear to kill it with a single sword strike, so she only sliced off one of its branches. I don't know if it's still there now. And Lin spoke in a calm voice as he held onto the nautical chart. It's a 1,000-year moon-sinking tree, but it was already 2,000 to 3,000 years old at the time. It's probably a 10,000-year tree demon now. If it ran away or was taken away by someone else, then we'd have wasted our time. Woof. Dabai was a little uneasy. There's another possibility. It's already died of old age, and even its body has rotted away. Xiao Cho added. And Lin, East Sea's Green Island. This island was rich in vital energy and flourished with life. There were many beautiful trees and beautiful forests. From a distance, it looked like a green gem embedded in the sea, which was why it was called Green Island. And Lin followed the map and soon saw the rumored island. However, no one was in the mood to tour Green Island. Instead, they headed east 14 kilometers and dove into the sea. Xiao Cho, turn on the lights. Clang. Xiao Cho unleashed his golden eye ability, Super Searchlight. A golden pillar of light tore through the darkness like a sharp sword and pierced toward the dark bottom of the sea. Xiao Cho unleashed his half-step soul formation stage aura, and no deep-sea mutant beasts dared to approach them. After diving for over 2,000 meters, they finally reached the bottom. I remember there was a huge azure rock next to the moon-sinking tree, and Lin said, I found the boulder, but the tree is gone. The clown looked in a certain direction and saw a familiar boulder. It was still standing there after tens of thousands of years, but the greenish-yellow moon-sinking tree beside it had disappeared. And Lin's heart was empty. He hurriedly ran to the side of the boulder and examined it thoroughly. He even used an immortal technique to dig 3 feet into the ground, but the tree seemed to have disappeared into thin air. That's impossible. If the sunken moonwood is a rare material, even if it's dead, the wood wouldn't rot so easily. How can there be no trace of it at all? Did it become a spirit and run away? Was it taken away by some foreign creature? And Lin had never imagined that the first material he had found would end up like this. He found it hard to accept. On Green Island, the wind was howling, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. On the white stone altar, a group of tree demons and spirit beasts crouched on the ground, shivering. I, the ancient Moon Emperor, have killed the Azure Emperor here today. Do you have any objections? A greenish-yellow treant stood proudly in the center of the stone altar with a golden longsword in its hand, its might overwhelming. Beside it, another greenish-yellow treant had been cut into two, and its vitality had already been severed. The tree demons and spirit beasts hurriedly shook their heads, unable to say a word of objection. The Azure Emperor was the most powerful being on Green Island. Even it had died in the hands of the ancient Moon Emperor. How could they dare to resist? Seeing all the powerful beings on Green Island kneeling before it, the ancient Moon Emperor laughed loudly. The aura of a king was released unscrupulously, and it felt extremely carefree and heroic. I, the ancient Moon Emperor, comprehended Tao for 3,000 years at the bottom of the sea, but my perfect body was destroyed by a slut's sword, and my path to Tao was severed. But my heart was not broken, and the heavenly Tao took pity on me. After 9,000 years, I condensed a perfect body again, reforged my path to Tao, and even comprehended Tao perfectly. Now, I am the Emperor of Green Island. Who has any objections? Its voice was like the waves of the sea, surging with rage and full of power, causing the trees in a radius of several hundred feet to tremble. The ancient Moon Emperor was extremely happy. This was because today was the day it descended upon Green Island. This was the most glorious moment in its 10,000 years of existence. Look, not a single living being on Green Island dared to oppose it. I don't accept this. A voice suddenly traveled down from the sky. This voice was like a clap of thunder, shattering the silent atmosphere. All the treants and spirit beasts trembled, and they raised their heads to look at the sky. They wanted to see who was so reckless as to dare to oppose the terrifyingly powerful ancient Moon Emperor. The ancient Moon Emperor's expression also changed, and it raised its head to look at the sky. It didn't think that someone would disturb it when it was about to ascend to the throne. At this moment, it had already sentenced the intruder to death in its mind. Then, all the living beings on Green Island saw an unfamiliar face. It was a monkey. It held a silver staff in its hand, and its entire body was enveloped in black flames. The black crystal armor on its body made it look majestic, but its face was a bit too ugly. The ancient Moon Emperor sensed that the monkey was only of the half-step soul formation stage, and the monkey's followers, the white dog and the human cultivator, were also only of the spirit-nurturing stage. It instantly laughed coldly. "And who are you? Why don't you accept this?" The other living beings on Green Island were all disappointed when they discovered that the Monkey King, who had spoken up to oppose them, hadn't even reached the soul formation stage. They felt that this monkey had really gone crazy. One had to know that the Azure Emperor of Green Island was a mighty being of the soul formation initial stage. Even so, it had been sliced in half by the ancient Moon Emperor's sword. A monkey that hadn't even reached the soul formation stage was shouting in front of the ancient Moon Emperor. If this wasn't seeking death, then what was? Ahem, I'm the general, the golden-eyed Monkey King. As for why I don't accept this, I just don't accept this. The Monkey King replied boldly and forcefully. That's right, the intruders were precisely the clown, Dabai, and Enlin. Hearing the clown's words, all the living beings on Green Island were instantly shocked. The ancient Moon Emperor was also stunned. This was the first time it had seen a monkey that was so arrogant despite being weak. At this moment, Dabai was secretly transmitting his voice to Enlin excitedly. Look, big brother, and apart from having many faces and limbs, this moon-sinking tree is almost exactly the same as the one in the image. It's become a spirit. I was just saying that it might have gone to some island and become a king. I didn't expect such a coincidence. And Lin also had a gratified expression on his face. Mountains are heavy and rivers are heavy, but there's still a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. If it hadn't caused such a huge commotion, we might not have come here. This is fate. Seeing the clown's arrogant appearance, the ancient Moon Emperor knew that it had to kill the chicken to warn the monkey again. Kill the monkey to warn the other living beings. Since you don't accept this, then you can go and die. The ancient Moon Emperor wasn't a tree that liked to talk nonsense. A full moon appeared behind it, and its white moonlight covered a radius of 30 meters. It appeared the ancient Moon Emperor's moonlight protection domain. This is an absolute defense. The Green Emperor fought it to the death, but he couldn't even break through its domain and was killed. Seeing this scene, the trance below immediately exclaimed in shock. The ancient Moon Emperor killing the Green Emperor without being injured was too shocking to the powerful beings on Green Island. The extremely terrifying defense made the ancient Moon Emperor invincible, and it also made them completely give up on the idea of resisting. The ancient Moon Emperor smiled confidently. Ever since it was struck by that woman's sword, it swore to protect itself well. From then on, it would become a tree that would never be injured. It was because of this determination that it finally comprehended the moonlight protection domain. From now on, only it could bully others, and no one could bully it. Die, ugly monkey! The ancient Moon Emperor took a step forward, and with a towering aura it soared into the sky. Its golden longsword was aimed at the clown, and it mercilessly slashed down. Chapter 277. The clown put on the Azure Battle Arhut mask, and his aura suddenly increased. The ancient Moon Emperor also smashed down with his staff. Boom! The long sword and the silver staff collided, forming a circular vacuum. Then a loud explosion occurred. The wind howled and heaven and earth shook. The clown was forced back several meters, and the ancient Moon Emperor was also forced back a few steps. The ancient Moon Emperor was shocked. It didn't expect the monkey's strength to be on par with its own. Again, it shouted and continued to pounce toward the clown. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, the ancient Moon Emperor and the clown fought. Vital energy surged, and the sound of their battle echoed for 3 kilometers. The powerful beings of Green Island looked at the battle in the sky in shock. They didn't expect the monkey, who hadn't even reached the soul formation stage, to be able to fight against the ancient Moon Emperor. Boom! The clown became more and more courageous. With another powerful staff strike, the ancient Moon Emperor was forced back several dozen meters. This time, the expressions of the beings of Green Island changed again. Heavens, the handsome Monkey King is actually suppressing the ancient Moon Emperor. Is the master of Green Island going to change hands again? It's impossible. An old tree man shook his head. The Monkey King's attack can't break through the ancient Moon Emperor's moonlight protection domain. Also, the Monkey King is probably using some kind of method to increase his strength. This method can't last long. Once the effect disappears, the Monkey King will die. In reality, just as the tree man said, the effect of the clown's Azure Battle Arhut mask was about to disappear. Still, a little bit more. And Lin took out the evil-slaying sword from his storage ring. The ancient Moon Emperor and the clown were in the middle of a fierce battle. No one would pay attention to the actions of a small cultivator. However, at this moment, the sky suddenly became pitch black. Second strike, Shadow Tiger. Everything became silent. The ancient Moon Emperor suddenly trembled, and an unprecedented sense of danger enveloped its body. It immediately activated the moonlight protection domain, and the full moon released endless white light. However, the darkness was like the sharpest claws, tearing apart the white light and eroding the full moon. No, the ancient Moon Emperor begged in horror. At this moment, it recalled the cruelty of the dragon tribe female's sword and felt the fear of being trampled on. Lend me your arm. And Lin's cold voice sounded from within the absolute darkness and silence. And Lin emerged from the shadows before slashing, his evil slaying sword down with a soundless divine might. The black sword shadow that stretched for more than 1,000 feet instantly descended, and the ancient Moon Emperor screamed in agony in midair. The light reappeared, and the darkness disappeared as quickly as it came. When the creatures of the Green Island saw the situation in the sky again, a huge white dog had already fled into the distance, with the Monkey King with a thick, greenish-yellow arm in its mouth. Humph, what bullsh *T Emperor of Green Island. He can't even withstand a single strike from me and Lin. I'll spare your life. Reflect on your actions. The handsome man who had just unleashed his sword threw down a few words before turning to the creatures of Green Island with a tall and imposing back. Then he flew away on the strange black brick, and no one dared to stop him. They were all astonished. They didn't understand how this spirit-nurturing stage cultivator could be so powerful. However, they were very clear about one thing, and that was that the sword immortal named Lin had defeated the ancient Moon Emperor at the summit of Green Island with a single sword strike. His deeds would definitely spread across the entire Green Island and even the East Sea. Of course, the prerequisite was that the ancient Moon Emperor didn't mind. The ancient Moon Emperor had survived a great calamity, and it had long since lost its proud aura. Instead, its entire body trembled slightly as it landed on the stone altar. It knew that if it wasn't for Lin holding back, it wouldn't have been as simple as losing an arm. Instead, its entire body would have been sliced in half. That man with terrifying sword techniques had left. Why did he leave after delivering a single sword strike? The ancient Moon Emperor didn't understand. However, when it thought about the huge dog that had its arm in its mouth, it seemed to understand something. Didn't that dragon tribe female also leave after slicing off a part of its arm? The familiar scene made it extremely frightened, and it couldn't help but shiver. Those who dared to provoke me have all been chased away by me, now that I'm the Emperor of Green Island. Who dares defy me? The ancient Moon Emperor's voice was like a torrent of waves, and it was full of might as it spoke again. The beings of Green Island felt as if their intelligence had been insulted, but they still didn't dare to make a sound. Although the ancient Moon Emperor had lost an arm, there was still no one here who could defeat it, since no one objects. Then I'm the Emperor of Green Island today. The ancient Moon Emperor made the final decision and ascended to the throne of Green Island. Congratulations, new Emperor. The ancient Moon Emperor's magic power is boundless, and your longevity is boundless. The tree people and spirit beasts of Green Island spoke in unison, saying the same old lines. Somewhere on Green Island, a man walked over on the waves. TSK, TSK, TSK. The wood energy on this island is so rich. It's a good place to cultivate. Huh. There seems to be a gathering over there. How can I, spring male, miss such a good thing? Since they're all gathered together, I'll take this opportunity to become an island owner and build a prosperous, democratic, and civilized island nation. He, in the sky, and Lin put the ancient Moon Emperor's arm into his storage ring. He had used his divine inspection technique to appraise this piece of 10,000-year moon-sinking wood, and the quality of the material used was several times higher than what he had expected. He was a little regretful. How good would it have been if he had directly killed the ancient Moon Emperor back then? They could have sold the extra materials. They were worth a lot of money. The next materials were the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon. These could be found in the ancient battlefield of the East Sea. He had seen that ancient battlefield in Xinyan's images. This was where the failed Tao integration product of the Purple Star Realm, the ghostly god of 6 paths, led an army of 100,000 ghostly soldiers in battle against the dragon court of the eastern seas. Countless powerful beings perished in that earth-shattering battle, including 5 winged dragons of the Return to Void stage and the prodigy of the Vermilion Bird sect, Dongfang Ming. Presently, the battlefield had already transformed into a hopeless place of death. Spatial turbulence flowed through it, and ghosts thrived there. Return to void stage mighty figures wouldn't set foot there. Otherwise, they would cause the fragile heaven and earth there to crumble. Only some soul formation stage and spirit nurturing stage cultivators would venture there in search of opportunities. Shin-een had found the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon in a certain space on that battlefield. I hope those cultivators who entered later on didn't discover that independent space, and Lin said uneasily. He wasn't worried that the ancient purple vine would wither and the true blood of the winged dragon would dry up. The ancient purple vine could survive by using the deathly aura of the battlefield as nourishment. Furthermore, the true blood of the winged dragon was immortal and existed within the bones of the winged dragons. What if the ancient purple vine turns into a spirit and runs away? Dabai suddenly voiced his concern, and Lin. Initially, he didn't believe that one could turn into a spirit after living for a long time. However, the moon-sinking tree's spirit made him speechless, and Lin didn't speak to Dabai, choosing to remain silent. After a long while, everyone saw a barren island, and thus they began to dive again. At the bottom of the deep sea, a white, ripple-like barrier enveloped a radius of over 500 kilometers. This was once the most prosperous place in the Dragon Court, and it once possessed the most powerful defensive spell formation. However, a sudden war had destroyed everything. Now, it had already become a land of death, isolated from the rest of the world. I see it. That's the entrance. Xiao Cho followed his memory and walked around the barrier. The searchlight finally caught sight of a white gate. Everyone was overjoyed and arrived before the white gate. The inside of the gate shimmered with light, giving off a sense of mystery and danger. And Lin's eyes turned snow-white as he peered into the gate. The passageway to the barrier is still clear, and it's also the day the barrier stabilizes. The heavens are truly on our side. Ancient battlefield, let's go! Chapter 278. This was a barren land where not even a blade of grass grew. At the top of the sky was a barrier that separated the sky from the water. It glowed like dusk. Gusts of wind capable of annihilating all living things blew out from the shattered space. An aura of death and evil rose from the ground from time to time. There were also vengeful spirits and ancient evil spirits that could never enter the cycle of reincarnation roaming this land. This was the Dragon Court's ancient battlefield, an abandoned piece of land. Under the broken white stone pillar, 5 well-dressed men stood together with worried expressions. Prince Chi Wu, are we really not going to save Princess Inu? A middle-aged man asked nervously. The red-haired man, standing in the middle of the 5, looked uncertain. Finally, he flicked his sleeves. Humph, do you think I don't want to save 13th sister? But she mistakenly entered the myriad ghost realm. Can anyone come out after entering that place? We'd better think of a way to escape from here. Then report this to father. The man named Chi Wu was evidently the person with the highest status here. After he made his decision, the others didn't say anything. However, there was a look of pity on their faces. Report this to the Dragon King? By the time they escaped and sent reinforcements over, 13th Princess would probably have already become a member of the myriad ghost realm. He who held a black ancient bead in his hand. This was an ancient artifact that he had collected while the barrier was stable. It wasn't like he had returned empty-handed. Come, let's go back. Chun Yuan, Huang Yuza, you two go lure away the bone ghost horde ahead. Hearing Chi Wu's instructions, Chun Yuan and Huang Yuza nodded with a smile, cursing 10,000 times in their hearts. The bone ghost horde was extremely terrifying, and there were even 2 soul formation stage black mist bone dragons among them. Only Prince Chi Wu would use spirit nurturing final stage cloud dragons like them as bait. Chun Yuan and Huang Yuza stood up and summoned their flying swords. They looked at each other and saw the bitterness and helplessness in each other's eyes. Using the sacrificial mystic technique, even if they didn't die, they would probably be half dead. Go, heroes of the Dragon Court! Chi Wu saluted elegantly. Chun Yuan and Huang Yu's lips twitched. They wanted to say that word again, but they held back in the end. This was probably the fate of the royal guards. For the safety of the royal family, they wouldn't hesitate even if they had to sacrifice their lives. The two of them soared into the air and flew forward. The dense horde of bone ghosts in front of them immediately became restless when they smelled the scent of living beings. Woo, woo, woo! Wails and howls filled the entire area. Countless bone ghosts started pouncing towards Chun Yuan and Huang Yuza. Many of them were even floating in the air. Their speed was even faster than Chun Yuan and Huang Yuza's. Boom! Two gigantic bone dragons with deep crimson pupils also began to move. With a monstrous aura, they pounced towards the two people in the sky. Chun Yuan and Huang Yuza immediately used their secret arts to burn their potential and continued to act as bait. We should also move out. Qi Wu saw that the group of bone ghosts had been lured away by Chun Yuan and Huang Yuza and began to fly into the sky on his sword. The other two nodded and followed behind Qi Wu on their swords, drawing two rainbow lights in the sky. And Lin, Dabai, and Xiao Chou passed through the enchantment barrier passageway. Their original plan was to let the two Gundams lead the way. However, as soon as the two Gundams stepped into the passageway, the enchantment barrier passageway began to shrink as if it had been stimulated by something. This situation gave them a huge fright, and they immediately flew through the long enchantment barrier passageway with all their might. Finally, in the nick of time, they successfully entered the enchantment barrier. Phew, that was close. The enchantment barrier is still shrinking. We almost couldn't get in. And Lin looked at the white passageway that had shrunk into a slit with lingering fear. Could it be that the Dragon Tribe enchantment barrier is so resistant to Gundams 1 and 2 because they're from the Purple Star? Dabai speculated, and Lin nodded. He felt that this was a reasonable deduction. Xiao Chou was a little concerned. The enchantment barrier passageway is closed. How are we going to get out? There's no rush. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's collect the things we need first. And Lin was not a pessimistic person, and his fighting spirit was immediately ignited. At this moment, 3 powerful auras suddenly closed in on them. Be careful. Enemies are coming, and their auras don't seem to be weak. Xiao Chou looked ahead with a grave expression, and Lin and Dabai's bodies also tensed up. They didn't think that enemies would pounce on them as soon as they entered the enchantment barrier. Their aggro was drawn way too quickly. People from the Dragon Court? And Lin was a little confused when he saw that the person at the front was a handsome man. This man's crimson hair fluttered in the wind, and he had a pair of dragon horns on his head. The crimson-haired man was also slightly taken aback by the sight of Lin and the others. However, as expected of a prince of the Dragon Court, he immediately came to his senses and joined his hands in a polite salute. Fellow cultivators, I'm very happy to meet you here. I wish you a pleasant treasure hunt. I'll be taking my leave now. Don't celebrate too early. And Lin turned his gaze elsewhere, as if he was a little embarrassed. Huh. The crimson-haired man was a little dumbstruck by Lin's reply. What the hell was that? Telling me not to celebrate too early? Was that a provocation? But I didn't do anything to him. Prince Qi Wu, the gate to the enchantment barrier has shrunk into a slit. A person beside the crimson-haired man yelled in panic as he looked at the enchantment barrier behind Lin. Qi Wu's pupils contracted as he looked behind Lin, and his heart skipped a beat. He finally understood the meaning behind Lin's words. Holy F *CK. What was there to be happy about? The gate was gone. You, fellow cultivator, why has the gate shrunk? Qi Wu's composure was quite good. He held back a mouthful of blood and looked at Lin and the others with a calm expression as he spoke in a calm voice. I don't know either. And Lin said with an innocent expression. There was a worried expression on his face. It shrunk as soon as I came in, and I'm still worried about how to get back. Qi Wu's lips twitched. sh*t, was he that unlucky? The gate shrunk as soon as he came in. This group of cultivators was very unfamiliar. Logically speaking, they shouldn't be here to screw him over. Even if they wanted to screw him over, how could their timing be so precise? Come to think of it, was he really that unlucky this time? Rumble! There was a huge commotion in the distance, as if an army was approaching. Prince, it's bone ghosts, they're coming. One of the male cultivators said with a trembling voice, his face pale. Bone ghosts? And Lin looked into the distance and saw a group of twisted beings with a tinge of white and black surging toward them. Most of their bodies were made up of bones and a black mist that seemed to have materialized over their bodies. There were two extremely huge bone dragons among them, and they were chewing something in their mouths. Their crimson eyes exuded a dangerous and violent aura. Chi Wu pulled out his flaming long sword, and the powerful aura of the soul formation initial stage erupted from his body. He appeared extremely majestic and intimidating. Fellow cultivator, these bone ghosts are wreaking havoc in the mystic realm. Now that the exit has been sealed, we won't be able to get out and will be constantly harassed by them. Let's join forces and defeat them. Chi Wu said in a loud voice. All right. And Lin nodded. Cross dark flaming slash. Chi Wu's long sword slashed out two flaming sword slashes, which swept toward the black mist-bone dragon at the very front. Mountain quaking lightning fist. Azure wolf wind claw. Black flame fist. And Lin and the others all unleashed their techniques at the same time. The two people beside Chi Wu also pounced toward the black mist-bone dragon. Glacial tornado. White cloud lightning sword. Boom, boom, boom. Countless extremely powerful immortal spells crashed toward the bone dragons and bone ghosts, instantly killing dozens of bone ghosts. Even the two soul formation stage bone dragons were forced into retreat. Charge! The two men beside Chi Wu clashed with the bone dragons. A few seconds later, the two men were sent flying with severe injuries. A strange feeling welled up in their hearts. Why was it so quiet behind them? They looked behind them to find that their boss, Chi Wu, had already flown 1.5 kilometers away. The man riding on the dog and the monkey had also turned into black dots in the distance as they fled in another direction. The two men seemed to have realized something, and a boundless chill welled up in their hearts. No. Following this cry of despair, they were greeted by the bloody maw of the black mist-bone dragon. Chapter 279. And Lin looked behind him. The bone ghost horde shouldn't be able to catch up to them anymore. He heaved a sigh of relief. Phew! Only a crazy person would fight bone ghosts head-on with them. I just didn't expect that prince called Chi Wu to betray his teammates even faster than us. He's from the dragon tribe, and he's called a prince. Could he be a prince from the dragon court? Woof! Dabai spoke slowly as he rode the wind, and Lin nodded. He should be a prince from the dragon court. The Dragon King is so fertile that he has enough children to form 2 football teams. It's not surprising that he's a prince. It's none of our business, anyway. Let's hurry and find out where that space is. They flew along the way, and whenever they encountered spatial rifts, they would avoid being injured by the chaotic gales. They also encountered some bone ghosts along the way, but they were all scattered, and Lin killed them easily. I remember that the entrance to this space is in the northwestern region of the ruins, beside a huge skull, and Lin said slowly as he recalled the scene in his memory. Big Brother in. Should we go on a treasure hunting adventure here? Dabai's eyes lit up, and he was itching to give it a try. And Lin stroked his chin and finally nodded. That can be done. But let's get the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon first. Their defeat at the Winter Dragon Tomb had hurt them for a long time, so it was time to fight for another opportunity. After flying for a while, the glow of the enchantment barrier dimmed for some reason. Rumble! Muffled thunder sounded in the distance, like the angry roar of a wild beast. There's a lot of Een energy up ahead. Everyone be careful, and Lin warned as he drew his evil slaying sword. Sure enough, a black skull-shaped evil spirit pounced toward them not long after. However, it didn't even get within 30 feet of Enlin before it was sliced in half by his sword projection and disappeared into thin air. But this was only the beginning. Soon, 5 or 6 evil spirits pounced toward them with bared fangs and claws. Wind blades and black flames attacked the evil spirits at this moment, tearing their bodies apart. Speaking of which, the last time Een came here, there weren't any evil spirits. Woof! Dabai complained when he saw the endless stream of evil spirits pouncing on them. It's been almost 10,000 years. It's normal to have some changes. And Lin felt that there was nothing strange about it and said indifferently. At this moment, the clown saw a certain plant in the distance and exclaimed, "Look, there's a stalk of grass that's emitting a faint blue glow next to the boulder." Ha! It's definitely not an ordinary item. And Lin's eyes also lit up. Even from so far away, he could sense the energy fluctuations emanating from the grass. Without saying anything, and Lin flew towards the blue grass and plucked it. Divine inspection technique. Serene opening grass, an item of extreme Een. It grows in places where the aura of death is strong. It uses the aura of death as its nourishment and uses demonic blood as its foundation. It takes 300 years to reach initial success and 3,000 years to reach major success. This is a major success tier 1 immortal grass. And Lin's eyes lit up and he was overwhelmed with emotions. A first-grade immortal herb. This time he had really struck it rich. He immediately stowed the serene opening grass into his storage ring. Then he turned his gaze to a nearby location. The sound of thunder seems to be coming from that direction. Could it be that a rare treasure has appeared? In order to avoid attracting attention, Enlin, Dabai, and the clown advanced on the ground. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath when they saw the scene in front of them. Gasp! And Lin was astonished. How many King evil spirits are there? The clown's lips twitched. At least 10,000. Before them was a vast expanse of crimson earth. Above the earth, a dense horde of evil spirits blotted out the sun and blotted out the sky. They floated around in the air, exuding a sinister aura that made one's flesh crawl. Big brother, and look over there. I think there's a blue ring of lightning. Woof. Dabai gestured with his eyes, and Lin looked toward the northeast of the crimson earth. The evil spirits there were especially densely packed, almost like a wriggling black curtain with very few gaps between them. However, he could still vaguely make out a blue ring of lightning through the horde of evil spirits. Looks like there are people trapped there. And Lin sighed with emotion. Then should we go and save them? The clown asked, and Lin pursed his lips and shook his head. They're not related to us, so why should we save them? Furthermore, this is such a dangerous place. We might even lose our lives. It's not worth it. He then seemed to have discovered something, and his eyes lit up. Look, the blue ring of light is 300 meters to the north. There seems to be something good there. The clown and Dabai looked over. Sure enough, they could vaguely make out a small tree with crimson flames burning from its body. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 will lead the way. Dabai Clown, protect me. We'll take advantage of the fact that a large horde of evil spirits are attracted by the blue ring of light to uproot the small tree and run. And Lin instructed excitedly. Dabai Clown nodded with a speechless expression. He felt like their master was becoming more and more shameless. At the same time, within the blue ring of light, a beautiful young woman in a white dress gripped the lightning bead in her hand tightly as she maintained the protective spell formation. 2 other young women in green dresses stood beside the young woman in white dresses. Their faces were deathly pale, and their eyes were filled with despair. What do we do, Princess Inu? The supreme lightning spell formation can only last for 4 hours. It's almost time. One of the young women in green dresses spoke in a trembling voice. Once the spell formation ran out of energy, they would be greeted by the horde of evil spirits. That would be a fate even more terrifying than death. Perhaps they would all choose to commit suicide as soon as the spell formation broke. The young woman in white gritted her teeth and forced herself to remain calm. "Don't worry. Brother Wong will definitely come to save us. Just hold on for a while longer. They might be here soon. He knew we were here a long time ago, but he still hasn't come to save us. He's clearly afraid of death and doesn't dare to come." The other young woman in green said with resentment. Yin shook her head, but she still didn't give up hope. Perhaps he's out there trying to think of a way. Right at this moment, an energy beam pierced through the blue ring of light. Boom! The scorching and powerful energy instantly reduced all evil spirits that came into contact with it to ashes. The three young women within the ring of light all shuddered as they looked toward the direction from which the energy beam had come. "Wah, I told you, Brother Chi Wu will definitely come to save me." Inu saw a glimmer of hope for survival. She saw that her brother was willing to risk his life to save her. The emotions that she had repressed for a long time finally erupted, and tears streamed down her face. Boom! Another beam of energy shot through the air. Immediately afterward, two silver figures, wielding light, swords appeared before her. Behind them was a handsome man, a dog, and a monkey wearing a mask. The three young women were stunned once again upon seeing this. What's going on? The newcomers aren't Prince Chi Wu. Princess Yinyu's eyes glistened as several speculations surfaced in her mind. Could it be that these are helpers that Brother Chi Wu has found? Or could it be that these are a group of powerful beings who have coincidentally stepped into the battlefield and saw that they were trapped, so they decided to take the risk and come to their rescue? Speaking of which, they really are powerful. Even in the face of the horde of evil spirits, they were still able to carve out a path. Furthermore, the sword-wielding man in the middle is so handsome. Inu blushed as she watched the hero charging toward them. That figure was deeply engraved in her mind. However, it seems like they're heading in the wrong direction. Immediately afterward, the silver puppet, the male sword immortal, the dog, and the monkey brushed past the blue ring of light. They didn't even spare a glance at the three young women as they charged toward the north. Within the blue ring of light, the three young women's eyes widened in shock as they fell into a long silence. Princess Yinyu's body swayed slightly as her heart sank to the bottom. Her breathing became labored. Their goal is the fire-blood divine tree? The other two female servants nodded woodenly. The scene of the hero saving the damsel in distress did not occur. Those people's goal was the same as theirs. They were all after the fire-blood divine tree. What a roller coaster of emotions. In fact, those people might have come here with the mentality of letting them attract the attention of a large group of evil spirits so that they could seize the opportunity to obtain the treasure. Princess Yin wasn't discouraged. This was their last hope of being rescued. She immediately shouted, she immediately yelled, "Fellow Taoists, please save us. We'll definitely reward you handsomely when we get out." Her voice was very loud, and the man several hundred meters away could definitely hear her, and Lin naturally heard her. However, with so many evil spirits around them, they were already in a difficult situation. How could they have the time to care about those trapped young women? He rushed toward the crimson flaming tree and forcefully pulled. Ow! It's so hard to pull. Princess Inu saw that those people didn't even turn to look at her after hearing her words. They only focused on pulling the fire-blood divine tree as if they were pulling carrots. They didn't even give a simple response. What were they supposed to do? Princess Inu had never experienced such despair and indifference before. She was so angry that she was about to cry. Meanwhile, Enlin and the others were still pulling the tree. Chapter 280. Hurry up and give me a hand. This tree's roots are too deep. Enlin had already used all of his strength, but he was still unable to pull it out. He immediately called for help. Xiao Qiu and Dabai also ran over and grabbed onto the fire-blood divine tree. 1, 2, 3, rise! And Lin roared, and the dog and monkey both exerted their strength at the same time. Rumble. The ground began to tremor, and a series of lines began to appear on the crimson ground. Then soil flew into the air as crimson roots began to rise from the ground, and Lin and the others were astonished. This tree's roots covered an area of over 1,000 feet in radius. No wonder it was so difficult to pull out. Time was of the essence, and Lin didn't have time to inspect the fire-blood divine tree. He hurriedly put the tree into his storage ring and began to retreat. At this moment, a female's voice sounded from the blue halo again. Please save us. There's a treasure distribution map of this ancient battlefield here. If you save us, all the treasures will belong to you. And Lin's footsteps faltered as he looked toward the blue halo. He was greeted by the sight of the young girl's pitiful expression. There were still traces of tears on her fair and delicate face, and there was an ancient sheepskin scroll in her hand. For some reason, his heart softened. All right, I'll take the risk to save you. Gundam 1, Gundam 2, unleash a gravitational field. Mark the 3 girls as allies. Boom! The purple halo began to expand, unleashing a terrifying pressure that forced all the surrounding evil spirits to the ground. Run! And Lin roared at the 3 girls within the halo. Yu reacted extremely quickly, and she immediately withdrew the halo before rushing toward Lin with her 2 maids. The powerful gravitational field only lasted for a short period of time, and it began to disappear by the time Yu arrived in front of Lin. All of the evil spirits in the sky now had a single target, and the pressure on Lin and the others instantly doubled. Countless evil spirits surged toward Lin like a tidal wave. They brandished their sharp black claws, bared their sharp fangs, and let out shrill ghost cries. They were aggressive and unstoppable, and their speed was even faster than the 3 girls. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 stood at the back and continuously fired cannons to fend off the waves of evil spirits. And Lin, Xiao Qiu, and Dabai led the way, and the 3 spirit-nurturing stage flower vases ran with all their might in the middle. Yu was a spirit-nurturing final stage cultivator, so she was quite strong. However, maintaining the extreme lightning spell formation expended a large amount of vital energy from her. Thus, she was the slowest person in the group. The group of evil spirits wandered on the edge of the red earth and did not continue to chase them. It was as if the different colors of the land on both sides were the dividing line between the 2 territories. Huff, huff, huff. It's really scary. My hands are sore from swinging the sword nonstop. And Lin twisted his arms and was drenched in sweat. The 2 Gundams had almost run out of energy due to the continuous high-intensity battle, so they returned to their storage rings to recharge. Thank you for saving us. You led the 2 maids to Lin and bowed in gratitude. Due to her intense exercise, a few strands of her jet-black hair were stuck to her rosy cheeks due to sweat, giving her a unique charm. No need to thank me. It's what I should do. And Lin waved his hand, his expression natural and heroic. Then he extended his hand. Looking at Lin's slightly open palm, Yu grimaced. She finally erased the last bit of goodwill she had for this male. She humphed coldly and handed the treasure map to Lin. And Lin didn't hesitate and immediately began to look through it. Oh, there are 12 places with treasures? Is it accurate? Yu rolled her eyes and humphed lightly. This is a map that the high priest of my tribe deduced from the topography of the ancient battlefield, the flow and distribution of energy, as well as the distribution of living beings. Of course, it's very accurate. She seemed to have thought of something, and her face flushed red. It's just that sometimes the estimation of danger may not be enough. For example, we accidentally triggered the spell formation of the myriad ghost realm this time, and Lin nodded. Then, how many treasures have you taken from the map? Hearing this, Inu felt as if her heart had been stabbed by a sword. Tears welled up in her eyes. One of the beads was taken by Big Brother Chiwu. This tree was originally mine, but it was taken by you, and Lin was extremely happy to hear this. His heart was filled with relief as he smiled. Then there are still 10 left. Not bad, Inu's chest tightened. She cursed in her heart. F***CK. I'm already in such a miserable state. Yet this man doesn't know how to take care of women? Humph, if it wasn't for the fact that Big Brother Chiwu couldn't save me in time, he wouldn't have been bullied by you. Inu muttered softly, even though her voice was very soft, and Lin still heard her. He smiled. Big Brother Chiwu, that crimson-haired man, right? Inu faltered slightly upon hearing this, but she still nodded. I saw him at the exit of the enchantment barrier. It looked like he wasn't planning to save you. Instead, he was planning to leave the enchantment barrier. And Lin said, the white-clothed girl's body swayed again. It was as if a certain speculation in her heart had just been confirmed. However, she still stubbornly insisted, I don't believe you. You're lying. How could my big brother abandon me? And Lin shrugged. Do you think I'll be able to eat if I lie to you? Besides, if I hadn't encountered your big brother at the entrance of the enchantment barrier, how would I know that he has crimson-haired hair? Young lady, are you an idiot? She had been dealt a blow by losing the treasures, being abandoned, and now her intelligence. Tears finally flowed from Princess Inu's eyes after these 3 heavy blows. Wah, you're all bad people. You're all bullying me, wah. The rims of her eyes were red, and she wept like a pear blossom in the rain. The 2 maids hurriedly tried to console her, but it was useless. She only cried even harder. She had never experienced such indifference before. She had been abandoned by her family, almost died, and she had lost all her treasures. Perhaps there was something wrong with her intelligence. The more she thought about it, the more she wanted to cry. And Lin didn't have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. She could cry all she wanted, and he would continue reading his book. He held the sheepskin scroll in his hand and looked at the locations where the treasures had appeared. The high priest of the dragon tribe had predicted that there was a high chance that the treasures would appear. In fact, the danger level was even marked out. The serene, understanding grass that he had obtained previously was of exceptional quality, but it didn't appear on the scroll. It was clear that the high priest wasn't completely foolproof. Every 1,000 years, the dragon tribe would send people here to search for the treasures that naturally formed in this place. This was both a type of training and a type of opportunity. And Lin didn't think that he would be the one to pick up this once in 1,000 years opportunity. Just thinking about it made him feel a little happy. As for Prince Chiwu, there was only 1 copy of the sheepskin scroll. Even if he knew the locations of the treasures, with his cowardly personality, he wouldn't dare to take the risk without a few cannon fodder accompanying him. Thus, and Lin wasn't afraid that he would beat them to it. Instead, he planned to obtain the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon first before searching for the other treasures. Let's go! And Lin stood up. After resting for a while, everyone had already recovered their blood essence. Which treasure are we going to find first? Inu asked curiously, and Lin glanced at her. This little princess who had just cried decided to stay by his side after hearing that the exit of the barrier was temporarily closed. Although Lin knew that he was very safe, it wasn't a good idea to bring along a burden. If you unleash your full strength, do you have the strength of a soul formation stage cultivator? And Lin suddenly asked. Inu faltered slightly before replying seriously, about only half-step soul formation stage. Then, she saw the disdainful expression on Lin's face. She was momentarily at a loss for words. You, spirit-nurturing final stage, being able to unleash the strength of a half-step soul formation stage cultivator is already very impressive, okay? That's right. And Lin nodded. I've slain quite a few soul formation stage cultivators when I was only of spirit-nurturing initial stage. Now that I'm of spirit nurturing final stage, soul formation intermediate stage, cultivators probably won't even be able to withstand one strike from my sword. Inu was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Enlin. Looking at Enlin's disdainful expression, as well as the fact that he didn't seem to be lying, she finally realized that not only was there a problem with her intelligence, but she was also a weakling. The two maids realized the reason behind Enlin's question and immediately replied, "We're willing to sacrifice our lives for Master at critical moments." Enlin nodded. These two maids of spirit nurturing intermediate stage were quite intelligent. Inu was of half-step soul formation stage, so she wasn't a burden anymore. Just like that, he agreed to let Inu tag along. "Let's go find the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon first." Chapter 281. Everyone set off once again, flying toward the northwest. Evil spirits still appeared from time to time, and they were becoming more and more powerful. Previously, evil spirits were usually of the Tao body stage, but now they could occasionally see evil spirits of the spirit nurturing stage. Swoosh! A pitch-black and profound sword light that was as fast as lightning instantly tore an 8-armed evil spirit into 2 halves. And Lin was already very powerful now. Even evil spirits of the spirit nurturing stage couldn't withstand a single strike from him. Inu truly believed in Lin now. However, she didn't understand. They were both of the spirit nurturing final stage. So why was there such a huge disparity between them? Moreover, she was a prodigy who possessed the direct bloodline of the dragon tribe. Oh, wait, prodigy couldn't be used to describe herself now. Inu pinched her small, delicate face, a look of dejection on her face. Big brother, and look, that giant skull in front of us should be it. Xiao Chao's eyes burned like torches as he pointed ahead. There was a black skull of 50 to 60 feet in size there. This skull was similar to a human skull. From the memory, it seemed to be the skull of a general of the Purple Star Ghost Army. And Lin's eyes lit up slightly. He landed beside the skull and walked 49 steps to the west before stomping forcefully on the ground. Boom! The ground trembled, and a white spatial gate appeared before everyone. Inu looked at Enlin in disbelief. "You've been here before." Enlin didn't reply and walked through the gate first. Inu's voice faltered, and she followed behind him angrily. The space around them warped, and a space rich in vital energy appeared before them. A giant skeleton of several thousand feet in length lay silently on the ground. Grass and flowers grew all around it. The combination of overflowing vitality and desolation gave off a unique sense of tranquility and beauty. This is the skeleton of a winged dragon. Inu's beautiful eyes widened, and her voice trembled slightly. She could no longer maintain her composure. Every winged dragon had an extremely high status in the dragon tribe, and this winged dragon was clearly a top-tier powerful being that had fallen in the ancient battlefield. And Lin walked to the side of the skeleton's head and squatted down. After taking a glance at it, a look of joy appeared on his face. There were ancient vines that glowed with purple light at the bottom of the dragon's head. This was the ancient purple vine he was looking for. The ancient purple vine absorbed Ingdragon's Yin-Chi and usually grew at the bottom of Ingdragon's head. He didn't expect that after 10,000 years, the number of ancient purple vines would increase by several times. And Lin skillfully removed all of the ancient vines and placed them into his storage ring. After that, he went to the winged dragon's spine and used his chi to open a small hole. He extracted 1/2 kilogram of blood with a hint of gold in it. This winged dragon true blood only existed within the spine, and because of its unfortunate nature, it could still exist even after tens of thousands of years. You are tarnishing the ancestors." When Inu saw that Enlin didn't even spare the true blood in Inglong's body, she was so angry that she stomped her feet. And Lin rolled his eyes at the silver fish. "Don't worry, I've used my vital energy to check. There's still 1.5 kilograms of true blood in there." As the most valuable part of the dragon race, true blood of winged dragons was extremely precious. As the heavenly dragon maiden of the dragon tribe at the time, Shanine had only taken 0.5 kilogram of true blood out of respect for her ancestors. After hearing Enu's words, Anlin thought about it for a moment and felt that this was indeed not the right thing to do. He walked over to the spine and extracted 0.5 kilogram of true blood. Shanine was a member of the dragon tribe, so she was naturally respectful. But I'm a human, so why should I be so respectful to a dragon? 1 kilogram of true blood, 1 kilogram as backup. Enu's vision darkened as she watched Anlin extract another kilogram of true blood. Her chest rose and fell violently, clearly having been provoked again. If these bones were to fall into the hands of other tribes, I guarantee that not a single bone would be left. I'm already very respectful to your ancestors. Do you understand? Anlin lectured Enu with a serious expression. Enu's face flushed red, and she was so angry that she couldn't utter a single word. Everyone walked around the space and collected a few spirit rank herbs. There was nothing else of value, so they left the space. We've collected the ancient purple vine and true blood of winged dragons. It's time to look for the treasures in the sheepskin scroll. Anlin was completely relaxed as he spread open the sheepskin scroll. Thus, everyone began to plunder from the nearest location. They entered the blood pool and found the 3rd rank immortal fruit, dark blood fruit. They trampled over the dead demon realm and found the dead realm flower. They went to the black stone forest and found the Vajra soul. After that, they obtained the ethereal spirit bone, demon blood ball, ice holy lotus, and ghost crystal armor. Out of the 9 locations where treasures were predicted to appear, 7 of them had appeared, while 2 of them had nothing. Anlin cursed the so-called high priest many times over. Seeing Anlin's dissatisfied expression as he collected the treasures, Enu felt a little short of breath again. Next up was the last treasure, marked on the sheepskin scroll. 1st rank immortal material, reincarnation ginseng. This thing was marked as the most dangerous treasure, so Anlin purposely left it for last. The reincarnation ginseng was located in a relatively central area of the ancient battlefield. The space there was extremely unstable, and the ground was also severely cracked. Countless bottomless ravines covered the ground, as if they were giant abyssal mouths that could swallow all living beings. Reincarnation ginseng can only grow this 1st rank immortal material through the cycle of life and death. In that war 10,000 years ago, heaven and earth collapsed, and the dragon court was almost overturned. The number of powerful beings that died here exceeded millions. This is one of the conditions for the reincarnation ginseng to grow, death. Then where does the other condition for the reincarnation ginseng to grow, life, manifest itself? Anlin sat on Dabai's back and held the sheepskin scroll as he asked curiously. Seeing that even Anlin didn't understand, Enu immediately interjected, "You don't understand this, do you?" Seeing that Anlin was looking at her with an inquisitive gaze, she instantly felt like she wasn't that stupid after all. She felt a little smug in her heart as she slowly said, "Life comes from the extremity of death, but what is born is resentment, hatred, and despair from not being able to enter the cycle of reincarnation. These negative emotions can also give birth to a type of life." And Lin blinked. "You're saying those evil ghosts and bone ghosts are a manifestation of life?" Enu nodded. "They can actually be considered living beings, but they're not recognized as living beings. They were abandoned by the heavenly Tao when they were alive, so they can't enter the cycle of reincarnation after death. Hence, their resentment is boundless, and they exist in this world in another quantum form." Quantum form. And Lin's lips twitched. He seemed to have heard a strange term. You don't understand the concept of quantum form?" The white-clothed young woman's eyes lit up, and she seemed to have a certain sense of superiority. "Let me tell you, this involves the development of microscopic particles, space-time, and the theory of cause and effect. If you don't understand, I can give you a book on quantum theory when I return to the Dragon Palace. I'll be the teacher, and you'll be my student. Inu was in high spirits, as if she had been injected with a stimulant. She talked incessantly to Enlin, as if she had successfully made a comeback from a completely useless situation. She was overjoyed, and Lin was also astonished. The Dragon Palace has started researching this kind of thing. There are even books. He had to admit, he really wanted to go to the Dragon Palace to see what those books were about. The group flew for a while longer, and they arrived at a place where black mist lingered. "We're here, it's nearby," and Lin said as he gazed at the sheepskin scroll. At this moment, another evil ghost pounced over. Then it was smashed into pieces by Xiao Chao's staff. Here, evil ghosts and bone ghosts that were pure resentment roamed the surroundings. Their auras were all extremely powerful, and there were even quite a few whose strength rivaled that of spirit-nurturing stage cultivators. Wisps of black mist floated up from the deep ravines on the ground. "Big brother, and look over there, there's a black ball." Xiao Cho spoke again. Sure enough, there was a black ball standing silently 1,000 meters away. "Let's go and have a look." And Lin flew toward the black ball, his evil slaying sword tightly in his hand. The group arrived in front of the black ball and discovered that it was perfectly round. Its surface was as smooth as a mirror, and it was about 30 feet in diameter. Aside from this, there were no other special characteristics. Could the reincarnation ginseng be inside this ball? And Lin asked. Inu also didn't know. She had never seen the reincarnation ginseng before. "How about we smash it open and see?" This was a good suggestion, and Lin immediately got to work. He sent out Gundam 1 and Gundam 2, and they prepared to cut it open with precision. Right at this moment, the ball seemed to have been stimulated, and it cracked open on its own. Chapter 282. Gotcha! The black ball cracked very evenly, and its smooth surface was instantly filled with cracks. The outer shell of the ball completely shattered, and everyone was dumbstruck by what they saw inside. A golden ginseng that was about half the size of a grown man with a flower on its head fell to the ground with a plop, and it opened its eyes in a daze. "This is—" and Lin took a deep breath. Reincarnation ginseng? Everyone else was also in disbelief. Wasn't this a first-grade immortal ingredient? Could it be that this thing could become a spirit? The golden ginseng stood up and looked ahead with its round eyes. "Papa!" It clattered as it hugged the leg of a Gundam. A certain Gundam. "Mama!" It ran over and hugged onto the leg of another Gundam. A certain Gundam. And Lin drew a sharp intake of breath upon seeing this. "It can talk." Inu's lips twitched. "Is that the point? The point should be why it can run as soon as it's born. Doesn't that save on a crib?" Dabai's face convulsed, and he yelled, "All of you are focusing on toxic things. Speaking of which, shouldn't the point be why this ginseng can distinguish between Gundam 1 and Gundam 2, and which is the male and which is the female? Woof!" Xiao Cho looked up at the sky. "You guys take your time." Right at this moment, the earth suddenly began to tremor. Immediately afterward, tens of thousands of ghosts began to wail. Countless sinister ghosts, wandering around the area, all turned their eyes upon Enlin and the others. Hordes of bone ghosts crawled up or flew out of the cracks like a swarm of locusts, and their pitch-black eyes stared coldly at everyone. "I have a bad feeling." And Lin's heart sank as he looked around. Wah! The golden ginseng began to cry. "Nai-Nai. I want to eat Nai-Nai." It hugged onto the leg of a Gundam as it spoke. "Mama, I want to eat Nai-Nai." Gundam. Everyone. Right at this moment, the evil ghosts and bone ghosts in the surroundings seemed to have received some kind of stimulation. With a monstrous aura, they charged toward Lin and the others. There were even 3 soul formation stage bone, mist dragons among them. "Run!" And Lin roared as he grabbed the ginseng and leaped onto his brick. Without hesitation, everyone began to flee. When the ghost saw Lin and the others escaping, it chased after them in a frenzy. And Lin tried to put the golden ginseng into his storage ring, and to his surprise he actually succeeded. Could it be that this ginseng had not become a spirit? Spatial rings were unable to contain intelligent life forms, but he didn't expect the golden ginseng to be able to be stored in a spatial ring. Didn't this mean that it wasn't an intelligent life form? Then how could it talk? Still thinking of eating Nanai, hiss hiss! Suddenly a large group of wraiths came charging at him, and Lin didn't have time to think too much and entered battle mode. All of the ghosts and monsters around him seemed to have been provoked by something, and they all pounced toward Lin in a frenzy. They showed no signs of stopping as they converged from all directions, accumulating more and more. If this continued, who knew what kind of army of wraiths they would form in the future? Where do we run to now? Inu yelled in a panicked voice. More and more wraiths appeared behind them, causing her hair to stand on end. If they were to slow down in their escape, they would be dead for sure if they caught up to them. Run to the exit. Let's see if the spatial passageway has opened. And Lin had already collected most of the treasures, and the golden ginseng was most likely the reincarnation ginseng, so there was no point in staying here. Within the spatial passageway, the white crack had already returned to its original size. A man with long crimson hair looked at the passageway in the distance with a scorching light in his eyes. Now, it was time to escape from this god-forsaken place. However, the group of bone ghosts at the outskirts of the spatial passageway was still very troublesome. With his power alone, without any cannon fodder to act as bait, there was a chance that his life would be in danger if he broke through the bone ghost's defensive line. Rumble, What's that sound? Chi Wu looked behind him to find that the sky in the distance seemed to have darkened. He took a closer look. Holy sh*T. Chi Wu pissed himself, and his legs began to tremble. These are all F***king wraiths and bone ghosts. How many were there? 30,000? 50,000? Or 100,000? Chi Wu's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the approaching horde of wraiths. What were they doing here? They couldn't be here to kill him, right? He was clearly just a bystander. How much hatred did they have for so many wraiths to be mobilized? Something's not right. Prince Chi Wu's eyes narrowed. There were people over there. Immediately afterward, he saw those familiar faces. The human, the dog, and the monkey. It's them. Prince Chi Wu's expression turned cold. He still remembered that Lin had sold him out. Although he had sold out his teammates, they were his guards. He could sell them out, but why would these people sell him out? He was very sad. Then his heart skipped a beat because he saw 3 familiar figures. 13th sister. She's still alive? That's great. I was just fretting over how to explain this matter to father. Now I don't even have to think about it. Did those people save her? Prince Chi Wu didn't think that the 13th princess could escape from the myriad ghost realm on her own. Someone must have helped her. However, in doing so, his attitude toward Lin improved a little. He knew that this was their last chance to escape from this barrier. The horde of wraiths behind them was no laughing matter. Seeing that everyone was about to arrive, he immediately transformed into a streak of crimson light and rushed out. 13th sister, it's great that you're all right. Prince Chi Wu's eyes were red as he flew toward Princess Inu. Inu was startled when she saw him. Then she turned her face away and sneered. You still have the face to appear before me? Prince Chi Wu's face was full of shame. His eyes were red, and tears were about to overflow. It's my fault. Big brother is useless. It's my fault for not being able to save you from the myriad ghost realm. But it's great that you're safe. Inu's expression remained cold, and she didn't say anything. And Lin was extremely shocked when he saw this. Prince Chi Wu's expression was so sincere. If he went to Earth, he would definitely be nominated for the Best Actor Oscar. He would definitely be much better than the Demon King of Wisdom. At this moment, Chi Wu turned to look at Enlin and said excitedly, "Fellow cultivator, thank you very much for saving my sister. From now on, you will forever be my friend. You will forever be a friend of the Dragon Court." Seeing Chi Wu's passionate expression, Enlin waved his hand and said honestly, "No need to thank me. It's what I should do. I'm paid to do it." "Paid to do it?" Chi Wu blinked. "I've given the sheepskin treasure map to fellow cultivator Enlin," Inu said coldly. Boom! This news was like a bolt from the blue, striking Scarlet Crow until it was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. And Lin calmly handed the sheepskin scroll to Chi Wu. "This map isn't very accurate. Only 8 out of 10 places have treasures. Here, I'll return the map to you." Chi Wu gripped the map, and his lips twitched. "Return it to me? You've already taken all the treasures. What's the use of giving me the map?" Chi Wu smiled. His smile was even uglier than crying. He had wanted to return to the Dragon Court to find some helpers and come to the ancient battleground again. Now there's nothing left. Boom! Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 used their photovoltaic cannons and blasted the 2 black mist-bone dragons guarding the entrance of the enchantment barrier into the air. Facing the bone ghosts in front of them, everyone began to fight with all their might. They forcefully carved out a path and charged out. Chapter 283. And Lin and the others rushed out of the enchantment barrier and stared at the enchantment barrier passageway behind them with lingering fear. Thankfully, evil spirits couldn't pass through this evil spirit passageway. They all breathed a sigh of relief. "Mr. Enlin, would you be interested in coming to the Dragon Court for a chat?" Chi Wu calmed himself down and invited Enlin with a sincere expression. "Thank you for your kind offer, Mr. Chi Wu. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll come visit another day." And Lin wasn't just being polite. He really did have to go to the Dragon Court soon. Seeing Enlin's expression, Inu wanted to say something, but stopped herself. This man is a human cultivator, so he'll probably return to the Kingdom of the 9 States after finishing his business. There are so many people in the world, so they might never see each other again. Just as a melancholy welled up in her heart, she suddenly thought of a reason and her eyes lit up. "And Lin, didn't you say you wanted to read a book on quantum theory? Come to the Dragon Court, I'll teach you." And Lin was startled. He had almost forgotten about this. "All right, I'll come to the Dragon Court in half a month at most, after I finish my business," he said with a smile. Inu breathed a sigh of relief in her heart and smiled brightly. "All right, I'll wait for you." Chi Wu looked at Enlin, then at Inu, and furrowed his brows slightly. He was just being polite. Could it be that this brat was really going to come to the Dragon Court? In the end, the two of them bade farewell, and Lin continued on his journey to collect materials. They obtained the mystic ice crystal on the Frozen Sky Island. They found the desolate flame bone on the soaring snake volcano in the land of the 100 tribes. Everything went very smoothly. These materials were usually grown in a special environment. As long as the environment didn't change much, they would be able to grow again after 10,000 years after being nourished by the energy of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and moon. The last herb was called the divine white herb. It grew on a small island, shrouded in white mist. That place feels quite dangerous. There's even a saint fiend there. That's a supreme expert that rules over a part of the sea fiend territory. Even Shanin, who was at the half-step return to Void Stage, almost died there. In the end, she had to use countless mystic techniques and formation discs to seal the holy demon on the island. And Lin's expression was grave as he looked at the last ingredient on the list. That place was actually in the 7 devil domains. It was a small island that emitted a purple light. "It's fine. The holy demon has been sealed, and there has been no movement for nearly 10,000 years. Even if that island is a bit special, even if the 7 devilish domains Emperor-level sea demons gather together, we can still escape even if we can't beat them, woof." Dubai wasn't worried at all. Strictly speaking, with their current strength, they were no longer afraid of soul formation stage cultivators. Even if he couldn't defeat them, He could at least protect himself. All right then, let's set off and go to the venerated Devil Island. And Lin raised his head and looked towards the distant sea, and he finally made a decision. The venerated Devil Island was located within the white mist of the 7 devil domains. It was extremely mysterious, and normal people didn't even know of its existence. They had only found out about the existence of this island from the images that Shin Yin had shown them. Even so, the coordinates that they knew were very vague, and they would have to slowly search for the exact location. And Lin and the others went to a coastal city in the Pearl Kingdom and bought a 3 divine compass. This compass was specially bought to prevent them from getting lost in the white mist. It could ignore the interference of magnetic fields and other types of energy, and it could accurately determine direction. Just as everyone was about to set off, a huge black shadow suddenly flew over from the distance. Why does this aura feel a little familiar? And Lin furrowed his brows. When we were in Bolan City, those demonic emperors also had this aura. Xiao Cho spoke slowly with a cold expression. Soon, everyone could clearly see the creature in the distance. It was a huge flaming dragon that was several hundred feet in length. This huge dragon had 3 pairs of wings on its back, and it flew extremely quickly. It had only just flown over the city wall when a purple bead in front of it suddenly burst forth with a dazzling light. Boom! An extremely terrifying suction force was released from the bead. Be it the Pearl soldiers or the residents on the streets, they were all attracted by a powerful suction force and flew towards the purple bead. Instantly, the Pearl people in the city fell into a state of panic. What's going on? No, I can't control my body. Save me. Let go of me. Don't grab me. Countless Pearl people flew into the sky and wailed for help in horror. Everything happened far too quickly. It was so fast that some of the Pearl people didn't even have a chance to react before they were sucked into the sky. After the flaming dragon tore through the city wall, it immediately used a spell technique to suck all the Pearl people into a storage bead. How weak! The other 4 brothers are also unlucky. Otherwise, they could easily take down 100 cities like this. The flaming dragon circled in the sky with a cold sneer on its face. In just a few short seconds, it had already collected over 1,000 Pearl people. Do you think you're that lucky? A male voice suddenly traveled over from the distance. The flaming dragon looked up to see a male flying toward it menacingly. Oh, a human cultivator of the spirit nurturing stage dares to stand up for us? Isn't he afraid of death? The flaming demonic dragon opened its mouth, and majestic red flames gushed out from its mouth. The flames blotted out the sky and swept toward Lin, leaving a red trail of destruction in the air. The crimson flames engulfed the male, but the demonic dragon didn't see them being reduced to ashes. A huge black brick smashed through the flames, and the sword-wielding male reappeared not far away. His speed didn't slow down at all. The demonic dragon's pupils contracted when it saw the sword-wielding male, the huge dog, and the monkey. It recalled the human cultivator that the demonic butterfly had mentioned. Didn't he have a king dog and a monkey with him? Run! The demonic dragon immediately withdrew the storage bead without hesitation. A flaming tornado erupted from its 3 pairs of wings, and it turned to flee. Whoosh! The demonic dragon tore through the air like a flaming meteor and fled toward the sea in the distance. Its cultivation base was only at the soul formation intermediate stage, so it wasn't confident enough to fight the freak that the demonic butterfly had described. However, it was very confident in its speed of escape. As long as I spread my wings, all opponents below the return to void stage can only look at my butt. The effects of the storage bead disappeared, and the thousands of pearl creatures in the air lost their suction force and began to plummet toward the ground. The pearls screamed again. If this went on, it would be a tragedy of all the pearls falling on a jade plate. Big brother in. We'll take care of these pearls. Dabai unleashed a gust of wind that enveloped the entire heaven and earth. giving the pearls a boost. Xiao Cho also unleashed his cloud riding technique to catch the pearls one by one, and Lin was momentarily dazed by the demonic dragon's decision to flee, but he didn't slow down. Instead, he increased his speed, and he summoned the 2 Gundams as well. Wings of Wind. 6th technique, Wind Sword, and Lin unleashed twofold acceleration, and his speed increased explosively. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 weren't as fast as the flaming demonic dragon in the distance, but they instantly opened all of their cannons and unleashed all of their attacks to impede the demonic dragon's escape. Spirit Snake homing missiles, photovoltaic cannons, particle chains, Gundam 1 and Gundam 2's attacks descended upon the demonic dragon. The flaming demonic dragon didn't dare to underestimate them, and it could only evade in the air. Boom, boom, boom. A series of dazzling fireworks exploded in the sky. The demonic dragon was a little disheveled as it charged out of the flames. Its speed had been delayed for a moment, but it still managed to put some distance between itself and the Gundams. Phew! Thank God I'm thick-skinned, F*CK. What I was afraid of really came true. The road to resurrecting the Holy One is truly a bumpy one. Just as the demonic dragon thought that it was going to escape, a cold sensation ran through its neck as a black sword projection pierced through its entire body. Pwah! The demonic dragon was severely wounded, and it turned to look at the man standing behind it in shock and horror. The man's eyes were snowy white, and he pulled out his black, evil-slaying sword before stabbing it 12 or so times into its back. Each strike was aimed at preventing it from circulating its vital energy. The demonic dragon's vital energy instantly stopped circulating, and even its domain was shattered as its body plummeted toward the ground. It stared at the man with an expression of shock and horror. There was only one thought in its mind: I'm unrivaled in speed, but a spirit-nurturing stage, Cultivator, has caught up to me? Chapter 284. Boom! The flaming dragon's meridian was punctured, and it fell heavily to the ground, creating a huge crater. The Holy One you mentioned, are you referring to the Holy Demon? And Lin stood on the demonic dragon's neck and pointed his evil-slaying sword at the dragon's head. The demonic dragon humphed coldly. Don't try to get any information out of me. Is that so? Then die. And Lin's evil-slaying sword glowed with a black light. Ah, don't kill me. I'll tell you. The Holy One is indeed the Holy Demon of Venerate Demon Island. The demonic dragon shrank back, clearly sensing the killing intent behind it. Why was it the fastest flying beast among all the beast emperors? That was because it could only survive by running away quickly. It was the fastest flying beast because it was the most afraid of death. So, capturing the Pearl People is to revive the Holy Demon? Then you know where Venerate Demon Island is, right? Sign a slave contract with me and take me there, and Lin spoke again. The demonic dragon remained silent, and Lin's long sword glowed with a black light again. Is that your answer? Goodbye. Ah, don't kill me. Fine, fine. I agree to sign a slave contract. The flaming dragon shrank back and gritted its teeth in humiliation. And Lin nodded and released a drop of blood essence from his finger. He made a series of hand seals and carved a spell formation. Finally, the blood essence dripped onto the demonic dragon's head. Don't refuse. A slave contract was different from a beast pet contract. Once a slave contract was signed as the master, and Lin could force the slave to do anything, and the slave couldn't even think of disobeying the master. Otherwise, the master could use the power of the contract to kill the slave. This was a very unfair contract, but the flaming dragon had no choice but to agree to it in order to survive. And Lin finally jumped down with a satisfied expression and patted the demonic dragon's head. Follow me, and you'll have meat to eat. Demonic dragon, At this moment, Dabai and Xiao Chou had also arrived, and they were both extremely shocked to see that Big Brother and had already signed a slave contract with the demonic dragon. A soul formation intermediate stage slave was extremely eye-catching. Xiaolong, you must call me Brother Bai. Woof. Dabai replied calmly. The corners of the demonic dragon's mouth twitched. Damn it, a dragon who had fallen from grace was being bullied by a dog. And Lin didn't say too much nonsense. He let the demonic dragon release the pearl people inside the containment pearl, and after confiscating the containment pearl, he immediately let the demonic dragon lead the way to venerable Demon Island. In a misty sea region, the myriad wave demon emperor butterfly demon and the white fur demon bear stood in the center of an island, waiting for the flaming demon dragon to return. Do you think the six-winged dragon emperor will succeed? The white demonic bear asked uneasily. Humph, you're an emperor-level sea monster, but you can't even capture 10,000 pearl people. That's just too embarrassing. The butterfly monster said coldly. The white demon bear scratched its head. But you couldn't even capture 5 demon thearchs previously, Yao Dai. Isn't that just bad luck? Then do you think the six-winged dragon emperor will also have bad luck? The white demon bear was still worried. Yao Dai, shut your stinky mouth. Then the two of them simultaneously sensed an undisguised familiar aura. Yao Dai smiled. Look, isn't the six-winged dragon emperor back safe and sound? The white demon bear raised its head. Sure enough, it saw a huge figure breaking through the white mist. It was just about to greet it when its entire body froze in place. It looked at the figure on the dragon's back. There seems to be someone else on the dragon's back? Huh. Yao Dai raised its head. Then it sucked in a breath of cold air. F***CK. Why are they here? The white demon bear was dumbfounded. What did you say? Who are they? It turned to look at the butterfly monster. However, it discovered a figure fleeing into the distance. The white demon bear. F***CK, wait for me. The 2 emperor-level sea monsters began to flee one after the other. However, how could they be faster than the 6-winged dragon emperor? They were quickly caught up. Dragon Emperor, how dare you side with the enemy and go against the will of the great sage? Yao Dai was both shocked and enraged. Shameless, the white demon bear also cursed. However, they were greeted by an extremely scorching flame breath. Boom! The crimson flames surged toward the white demon bear. The white demon bear swatted with its paw. A vast power instantly tore the flames apart. However, this pause was enough for the 2 silver Gundams to reach the white demon bear and surround it. The 6-winged dragon emperor didn't stop. It continued to pounce toward Yao Dai. When it was close enough, the 6-winged dragon emperor, the clown, and Dabai attacked it at the same time, while they were surrounding him, and Lin took advantage of the opportunity to use the shadow tiger technique of the 6 techniques to slice the butterfly monster in half. The 6-winged dragon emperor's eyes widened when it saw in Lin's sword technique. It finally came to its senses, as expected of a freak that even the butterfly monster was afraid of. However, no matter how afraid it was, it still couldn't escape from this freak's poisonous claws. When everyone returned, they saw the white demon bear again. At this moment, the white demon bear was already cooked. However, it didn't look very delicious, and Lin and the others didn't eat it. Instead, they put away the 2 Gundams and began to head toward the center of Venerate Demon Island. The 10 spirits sacrificial formation that covered the entire island was still in operation. On this land that was filled with filth and blood, 3 white herbs emitted a holy light and purified the air around them. This is the divine white herb? I didn't expect there to be 3 of them. Did you guys plant them? And Lin was pleasantly surprised. The demonic dragon grimaced. This is a medium to summon the great sage. We only managed to get these 3 in 3,000 years. Oh, then I'll kindly accept them." And Lin nodded very naturally. Then he plucked them off without hesitation and put them into his storage ring. The demonic dragon's heart sank again. They were clearly giving these to the great sage. They weren't giving them to you. Why the hell are you smiling and accepting them? Is there anything else good? And Lin felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders after he finished collecting the materials. However, he still continued to ask with interest. The demonic dragon shook its head. "There's nothing else. This land is actually not suitable for growing spiritual objects." And Lin nodded. He looked at the blood that was still flowing endlessly on the ground and sighed. "It's just a pity for the 90,000 living beings. They were forcefully sucked dry by you guys." The demonic dragon suddenly felt a chill envelop it. It hurriedly lowered its head and remained silent. Ding dong! The system's voice suddenly sounded in Lin's mind, and Lin's heart trembled. There's finally a response from the system. He immediately opened up the system. Detected that host has arrived at Venerate Demon Island. Now assigning the following special mission. Kill the holy demon and destroy its heart. Mission success. Receive the second stage of the lightning essence cultivation method. Mission failure. Be struck by lightning for 2 hours. Note, this mission cannot be rejected. Chapter 285. And Lin was elated when he saw the system's mission. Strike by lightning? He wasn't afraid of that. However, he was more than happy to learn cultivation techniques. We have to kill the holy demon. But isn't the holy demon completely sealed on the island by Shanine? If you can't complete the 10 spirits blood sacrifice formation, can it still break the seal? And Lin was a little confused when he saw the system's request. He turned to the demonic dragon and asked curiously. The flaming demonic dragon nodded. Shinyin's seal is too old. It's already weakened. We used the 10 spirits blood sacrifice formation to make the holy demon's resurrection smoother and recover its strength faster. Even without this formation, the holy demon can still break the seal with the power of heaven and earth once the sun in the sky forms a line. The only thing we can do now is to completely destroy the 10 spirits blood sacrifice formation. When the holy demon awakens, it will be extremely weak without a source of energy. That will be the best time for us to defeat it. Now that the demonic dragon and Enlin were on the same boat, it naturally wouldn't hide any other information. Where's the holy demon's seal? Can we kill it while it's still sealed? And Lin asked curiously. He remembered that Shen Yin had sealed it on a purple mountain, but that mountain had disappeared. The demonic dragon smiled helplessly. The holy demon has already merged with the Zeeming mountain and become a part of the island. That's the only way it can absorb the energy of the sun to the maximum. And Lin looked around the vast land and rubbed his brows. Then there's no other way. We can't release the holy demon. We can only wait for it to break the seal and then kill it. The demonic dragon said, The sun will form a line in 3 days. And Lin nodded. All right, then we'll make preparations in the next 3 days. Meanwhile, in the depths of the East Sea, there was an extremely prosperous city of light. It was like the only pearl in the darkness, emitting a light as bright as day. This city was called Dragon City. It had a population of over 100 million dragons. At the same time, there were also living beings from various races of the East Sea living here. It was an extremely tolerant and open city. The number 1 faction in the East Sea, the Dragon Court, was located above Dragon City. If Dragon City was the most dazzling pearl in the Eastern Sea, then the Dragon Court was the most dazzling diamond on this pearl. The palaces of the Dragon Court could be said to be extremely beautiful. Every place exuded extravagance. Even the bricks on the ground were meticulously carved by craftsmen. Perhaps this was the taste of the Dragon Clan. They all had a hobby of collecting and showing off treasures. At this moment, the Dragon Court's Supreme Dragon King was angrily staring at the woman kneeling on the ground. The ministers of the dragon tribe and the members of the royal family stood on two sides with expressions of pity, confusion, or schadenfreude. The atmosphere in the main hall was extremely heavy, and the oppressive atmosphere made it hard for people to breathe. However, at the center of the entire incident, the woman in the blue robe who was kneeling on the ground had an indifferent expression. The Dragon King looked at the woman with a look of exasperation. You have the best aptitude and the purest bloodline among the younger generation of the Dragon Court. You are also the prodigy with the highest chance of reaching the Tao integration stage. You sacrificed your own bloodline to save that city of Pearl people and those strange human cultivators. Can't you just run away if you can't beat them? Even if the entire Pearl Kingdom is destroyed, it's not worth it for you to cripple your own bloodline, let alone a city of Pearl people. Idiot, idiot beyond belief. The Dragon King's body trembled slightly, and he became more and more enraged as he spoke. He didn't think that the daughter he had high hopes for would sacrifice her own cultivation. Even in front of the higher-ups of the Dragon Court, he couldn't help but let loose a torrent of abuse. The woman lowered her head slightly. This is a decision that Bai Lian made out of her own free will. Bai Lian is willing to bear all the consequences. You want to bear all the consequences? You're shouldering the responsibility of reviving the future of the Dragon Court. I've always given you the best cultivation resources, but now you've ruined that future. Tell me, how are you going to bear all the consequences? The Dragon King's hands trembled with rage as he stared at the silent woman before him. From now on, Ao Shaoqian is stripped of her right to represent the Dragon Court. All of her cultivation resources are to be given to Ao Kong. The Dragon King spoke again. Thank you, Father. A crimson-haired man made his way to Bai Lian's side before kneeling down to the Dragon King with gratitude on his face. Everyone lowered their heads slightly, and no one had any objections. This was not a strange decision. In a sense, it could be said that the Dragon Princess, who had once been hailed as the hope of the Dragon Court, had completely fallen from grace. The Dragon tribe focused on their bloodline, and if their bloodline was tainted beyond repair, they would most likely never be able to make any progress in their cultivation. In other words, Bai Lian had already been reduced to a cripple who couldn't cultivate. Her fate was almost foreseeable, and she would most likely be married off as a tool for political alliances. The Dragon King flew into a rage in the main palace, but Bai Lian had already accepted her fate. Her expression was indifferent, and it was impossible to tell whether she was happy or angry. Bai Lian exited the main palace and made her way to the side of the Jade Lake to pluck another tree branch. 11th sister, I didn't think you would do something so stupid. The crimson-haired man walked over with a wistful expression on his face. Bai Lian bowed gracefully. 9th brother, I don't think I did anything wrong. I told you. With your personality, you won't be able to go far even if you have talent. I was right, wasn't I? You probably won't even be able to reach the soul formation final stage, much less the return to void stage. The crimson-haired man shook his head as a mocking expression appeared on his face. He couldn't even be bothered to put on an act anymore. It was precisely because Bai Lian had overshadowed his brilliance that the Dragon Court had given all of its cultivation resources to Bai Lian, yet no one cared about him. Why? Just because of Bai Lian's bloodline? But now, Bai Lian had even crippled her bloodline in order to save some pearl. What a joke! What an adorable little sister. The crimson-haired man couldn't be bothered to speak to someone like her. He chuckled lightly before departing. Bai Lian didn't say anything. Instead, she broke off a branch from a tree and squatted beside the Jade Lake. She began to stir the goldfish at the bottom of the lake. These goldfish had formed a school, and they quickly scattered after being stirred by her. Before they knew it, the goldfish had gathered together again. Her cherry lips parted slightly, causing ripples to appear on the surface of the lake and scaring away a few more goldfish. 11th sister, I just saw Chi Wu pass by with a smile on his face. Did that bastard say anything to you? Father has gone too far. He actually scolded you in front of so many people. He didn't even give you any cultivation resources. Are you even his biological son? A beautiful young girl in a white dress walked to Bai Lian's side and spoke angrily. Bai Lian shook her head lightly. I can understand why father is doing this. He's placing all of his hopes on his children. He hopes that a Dao integration stage true dragon will appear in the dragon court and become a first-rate power in the Taichu continent. Yin Yu pursed her lips in dissatisfaction. That's right. He's almost become a breeding dragon for the sake of his dream of unifying the East Sea and the 100 tribes. He's found so many wives and has so many children, but he only treats his family members by dividing them into useful and useless ones. I heard from the high priest that the Dragon King intends to betroth you to Xia Zhe in order to rope him in. What on earth is going on? Bai Lian's slender hand trembled slightly, and the tree branch fell into the lake, scaring away all the goldfish in the lake. Yin Yu looked at Bai Lian with a worried expression. She didn't know what to say. Xia Zhe was the captain of the Dragon Court's Divine Guardian Squad, and he had been in love with Bai Lian for a long time. At the time, Bai Lian was the little dragon princess, and her status was extremely revered. 2 years ago, she publicly rejected Xia Zhe's advances, and no one said anything about it. But now, Bai Lian's status had plummeted, and the Dragon King actually decided to betroth her. Even Yin Yu felt extremely disappointed. One had to realize that Bai Lian had already lost her mother, and she no longer had a path of cultivation. Now, even her last bit of happiness was going to be taken away from her. Bai Lian came to her senses slightly, and a rare expression of desolation appeared in her eyes. She changed the topic. Oh, right. Why did you call Chi Wu a bastard just then? Weren't you on good terms with him before? Yin Yu faltered slightly upon hearing this. She recalled that she and Chi Wu had chosen to remain silent at the same time. She didn't say anything because she wanted to protect that man, and Chi Wu didn't say anything to protect his own image. Yin Yu pondered for a moment and decided to tell Bai Lian. I'll tell you something in secret, but you can't tell anyone. In the Dragon Court's ancient battlefield, I accidentally entered the myriad ghost realm. Chi Wu was afraid of danger, so he left me among the ghosts and ran away by himself. If it wasn't for a human cultivator who came to my rescue, I would have most likely died there. Really? Then, who was that cultivator who saved you? He saved your life, and you let him go just like that? Bai Lian asked with a hint of a smile on her face. Yin Yu's heart sank again when she recalled that cultivator's vile behavior. His name is Enlin, and he'll come to the Dragon Court to find me. You'll be able to see him then. His name is Enlin? Bai Lian's expression faltered, and her cold voice trembled slightly. Chapter 286. The night sky was as dark as ink, and the moon was obscured by dark clouds. For some reason, the thick fog began to disperse, and specks of starlight could be seen twinkling in the sky. On Venerate Demon Island, the 10 Spirits sacrificial formation had already been completely destroyed, and fresh blood had dried up on the ground. The ground glowed with a purple light, and there was a hint of a bewitching aura. The 6-winged Dragon Emperor circled in the sky, and crimson flames twined around its body, illuminating half the sky. And Lin, Dabai, Xiao Chou, and Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 all stood on a black brick, and they looked down at Venerate Demon Island with solemn expressions. The trap that they had prepared using Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 was already in place. Now, they only had to wait for the Holy Demon to break out of its seal. At its peak, the Holy Demon had the power of the return to void initial stage. Even in the entire continent, it was considered a top-notch cultivator. Back then, Shen was at the half-step return to void stage, and she was an extremely talented cultivator. Even after using countless trump cards, she still couldn't kill it. She could only seal it in the purple mist mountain. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the holy demon was at that time. Now that the holy demon had been sealed for almost 10,000 years, there was finally hope that it could break out of its seal. At that time it was at its weakest, but its power was still unfathomable. Thus, regarding the question of whether they could defeat the holy demon, and Lin and the others weren't very sure. At some point in time, the 9 golden stars formed a line, and it hung in the night sky like a golden longsword. Rumble! Suddenly, the purple ground began to tremble slightly. It's here! And Lin's heart thumped, and he began to speak nervously. The power of the stars in the night sky seemed to be attracted by some kind of power from the purple ground. The 9 golden stars became even brighter, and a wisp of golden light descended from the sky, slowly merging with Venerate Demon Island. Kacha! As if some shackle had been broken, the purple light on Venerate Demon Island suddenly dimmed. Immediately afterward, a pillar of purple light soared into the sky, piercing through the clouds as if it was going to break through this part of the world. Holy F***CK, this scene is definitely the scene of the birth of a great demon king. And Lin of astonishment, and his entire body began to tense up as he stared intently at the pillar of light on the ground. The purple light disappeared, and a humanoid figure appeared on the ground. His skin was dark purple, and his eyes were deep and gloomy, like bottomless black holes. There was a purple halo above his head, releasing brilliant divine light. Lord, Holy One! The 6-winged dragon emperor shuddered when it saw the holy demon appear. It couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and reverence. This was an emotion that a low-level being naturally felt toward a high-level being. The holy demon lifted his head and looked at the crowd in the sky. There was no change in his expression. Begin the battle. Electromagnetic lightning bomb. Activate. And Lin suddenly said, Boom! The ball of lightning hidden in the ground moved to the holy demon's feet and exploded. The ground within a radius of 1,000 feet was instantly annihilated by the lightning explosion, and the entire area became a lightning purgatory. The 6-winged dragon emperor opened its mouth and breathed out. Crimson flames descended from the sky toward the holy demon. It was like heavenly flames punishing the holy demon, causing the entire ground to explode and melt. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2's photovoltaic cannons shot toward the holy demon at the same time. Chao's black flames, Debai's wind blades, and Enlin's mountain-quaking lightning fist all shot toward the holy demon. Rumble! The terrifying energy caused the island to tremble and the ocean to churn. The explosion of energy made it seem as if a blazing sun had appeared in the night sky, illuminating the entire heaven and earth. The 6-winged dragon emperor's heart trembled at the sight of such a terrifying and concentrated attack. It knew that it wouldn't be able to withstand such an attack even if it had 10 lives. Whoosh! A streak of purple light shot toward the 6-winged dragon emperor like a bolt of lightning. The 6-winged dragon emperor's pupils contracted. This was the holy demon. Although it was injured and purple blood flowed from its body, its aura, which was as vast as the sea, was rapidly increasing. It had already reached an extremely terrifying level. The holy demon's entire body was enveloped in a purple aura. Like a bolt of lightning, it instantly pierced through the 6-winged dragon emperor's body. Howl! The 6-winged dragon emperor howled in anguish. A large hole appeared in its body, and blood sprayed through the air. It was too fast. It was so fast that the 6-winged dragon emperor didn't even have time to put up any defenses. Whoosh! The holy demon didn't slow down. It transformed into a streak of purple light again and charged toward the 6-winged dragon emperor's head. Boom! The streak of purple light collided with the blue halo this time, and a series of violent ripples erupted from it. The Gundam took action. The Ionic Deprivation Protection Formation was activated, and it finally managed to block the holy demon's attack. Just as the protective formation was starting to crack, Another Gundam slashed toward the holy demon with a light sword. The holy demon retreated and easily dodged the light sword's attack. Purple Star Bloodline Artificial Intelligence Weapon. The holy demon spoke calmly. A strange expression appeared on its face. Then, it turned its gaze toward the six-winged Dragon Emperor. You've defied my will, surrendered to the enemy, and broken the 10 spirits' blood sacrifice formation. You've committed a capital crime. The holy demon had just finished speaking when the purple halo above its head suddenly doubled in size. A suffocating aura was released from its body without restraint. Bracelet-like purple halos also began to appear on its hands. It raised its hand and punched out. The purple figure's fist, which was as heavy as a mountain, crashed toward the Ionic Deprivation Protection Formation. The Ionic Deprivation Protection Formation cracked. In the next instant, the blue barrier of light shattered like glass. The fist shattered the protective formation and landed on the six-winged Dragon Emperor's head. The six-winged Dragon Emperor suffered a concussion from the terrifying power of this punch. Just as the holy demon's fist landed, the Dragon Emperor's head caved in, and he began to foam at the mouth as he plummeted toward the ground. A streak of white light streaked through the air and slashed toward the holy demon's neck at an extremely strange angle. The holy demon, which had always been extremely calm and collected, suddenly changed its expression and retreated explosively. Purple blood splattered into the air again. A wound that was neither deep nor shallow appeared on the holy demon's neck. A masked monkey appeared behind the holy demon. Its silver cudgel tore through space and smashed toward the holy demon's head. The holy demon turned around and smashed its fist toward the silver cudgel. Boom! A tremendous force crashed into the clown, causing him to vomit blood and fly backward. Right at this moment, heaven and earth suddenly turned pitch black. Everything fell silent. Only a black sword projection, carrying with it the power of absolute destruction, slashed toward the holy demon's back. After unleashing the wind sword, Enlin resolutely used the second technique of the 6 strikes of the war god, Shadow Tiger. The black sword projection extended for over 1,000 feet and fell soundlessly. It was as if it was going to slice through and devour all things. A shriek sounded, and the purple figure retreated madly into the distance, leaving a trail of blood behind it. Light reappeared between heaven and earth. The holy demon appeared 1,000 meters away from Enlin. It stared at Enlin in shock. From its head to its waist, there was a ghastly wound. It seemed as if its body was about to be torn in half. Purple blood flowed continuously from the wound and splattered onto the ground. If a normal cultivator were to suffer such a serious injury, they would have died a long time ago. However, the holy demon only panted heavily and looked at Enlin cautiously. I underestimated my enemy. I didn't think that a cultivator of the spirit nurturing stage could use such a terrifying sword technique. The holy demon had to admit that the cultivator in front of it almost caused it to fail miserably. Enlin's heart jolted with shock. Even a soul formation final stage cultivator would die on the spot if he and Xiao Chou were to unleash a surprise attack from the demonic dragon. However, the holy demon's reaction speed was far too fast. Not only was it able to dodge the wind sword, but it was also able to dodge most of the damage from the Shadow Tiger's unpredictable attack. Enlin swallowed a blood spirit pill and started to recover his energy. Gundam 1, Gundam 2, go! The holy demon was already severely injured. The 2 Gundams pounced toward the holy demon again. This time, the 2 Gundams were finally able to put up a fight. They were able to exchange blows with the holy demon. After swallowing the blood spirit pill, Enlin quickly replenished the energy he had expended from using the 6 strikes of the war god. Hee, so what if the holy demon is strong? I'll kill it even if I have to fight it out. A confident expression appeared on his face. He raised his sword and flew toward the holy demon again. Chapter 287. Boom! The holy demon's body was sent flying by the Gundam and crashed into a small mountain, causing half of it to collapse. At this moment, Enlin had already spread open his wings of wind and appeared in front of the holy demon like a gust of wind. He slashed down with his sword without hesitation. The holy demon revealed a vicious expression and also punched toward Enlin. The fist and sword didn't meet. Both of them were planning to exchange blows. Rip! One of the holy demon's arms was severed, and Lin's shoulder was struck by the fist. The bones and flesh around him were instantly twisted and shattered by the immense force, and his body was sent flying. At this moment, Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 charged toward the holy demon again, and Lin swallowed a first-grade spirit pill. The vitality replenishment pill. Crackle! White light erupted from his body, and the flesh around his shoulder started to heal at a visible rate. At the same time, the evergreen technique also started to heal him. The vitality replenishment pill could not only quickly recover vital energy, but it could also heal internal injuries at an extremely fast rate. Its effects were almost comparable to low-grade immortal pills. However, he swallowed it without hesitation. He wanted to exhaust the holy demon to death. He might not be able to defeat the holy demon with his strength, but he had a lot of pills, and Lin had never been afraid of anyone in a battle of attrition. Just like that, the holy demon became more and more disheveled. The number of injuries on his body increased, but Lin was as fierce as ever. Vital energy, stamina, injuries, these weren't problems. Soon, the holy demon's situation became extremely dire. Boom! He was careless, and his body was once again heavily injured by Enlin. You forced me to do this. Blood sacrificial god, 5 times the strength. A vicious expression appeared on the holy demon's face. He never thought that he would have to sacrifice his lifespan and potential. However, if he didn't do this, he would be exhausted to death by this human cultivator. The blood in the holy demon's body surged, and the purple halo above his head increased by 5 times. As the light grew brighter, his aura also increased explosively, reaching a level that made even Enlin's heart palpitate. F*CK, this isn't simple. Enlin's expression changed, and he commanded, Demon Dragon, attack! The 6-winged Dragon Emperor. Perhaps it was the effect of the slave contract, but it dragged its heavily injured body and spat out its strongest move, the Scarlet Flame, Blood Fireball. The nearly 30-meter-wide fireball whistled through the air. Everywhere it passed, the air distorted and the earth melted. The holy demon looked at the fireball and punched out. Spatial ripples spread out. An indescribably mysterious power instantly shattered the fireball and sent the demonic dragon flying hundreds of meters away. The 6-winged Dragon Emperor lay on the ground like a dead snake. This time, it really wasn't going to make it. Spatial power. This holy demon's strength is already close to the return to void stage. And Lin's heart sank upon seeing this, and he immediately stopped Xiao Chou and Dabai from taking the risk to attack. The holy demon's expression was bone-chilling as it stared at Enlin with its pitch-black eyes. Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 pounced toward the holy demon. Light, swords, cannonballs, and flames rained down upon it. However, the holy demon's speed was frighteningly fast this time, and Gundam 1 and Gundam 2's attacks all missed. In just 3 breaths, one of the Gundams was sent flying hundreds of meters and crashed into a mountain. The other Gundam was punched into the ground, and no one knew how deep it was. How dare you force me to sacrifice my god with blood? I'm going to devour your flesh, refine your consciousness, and send you into eternal hell. The holy demon walked toward Enlin with an invincible aura. Its voice was like that of an evil god, striking fear into the hearts of those who heard it. And Lin spat lightly. Arrogant? Do you think you're the only one who has a buff body? Boom! And Lin's aura also began to soar explosively, and he instantly reached the soul formation stage. Origin energy of the netherworld. 3 techniques, 100 swords. The evil-slaying sword let out a clear, ringing sound and flew into the air. 99 white, celestial swords began to materialize in the air, exuding a might that caused the space around them to tremble. The 100 swords, unleashed by the origin energy of the netherworld, were many times more powerful than when he had slain the overlord whale. Once the sword intent of the 100 swords was unleashed, the entire heaven and earth became filled with killing intent. Even the dust floating in the air was annihilated into nothingness. The holy demon's footsteps faltered, and an expression of shock appeared in its eyes. It took a deep breath and stabbed a hand into its heart. Holy sacrifice, purple god, nirvana, whirlpool. Boom! A purple whirlpool suddenly appeared in a radius of 100 feet around it. Its center was as deep as a black hole that could engulf all things, and its surroundings were as sharp as blades that could tear apart heaven and earth. The celestial swords moved. They carried with them a boundless sword intent and vast might, and they were like shooting stars that streaked across the sky as they stabbed toward the holy demon, who was walking toward Lin. Boom, boom, boom. Every white celestial sword had the power to slay the 6-winged dragon emperor. However, when they came into contact with the purple whirlpool, they were forcefully shattered by the terrifying wind blades. The 99 white celestial swords relentlessly bombarded the holy demon, but the holy demon's footsteps didn't stop. The purple whirlpool began to shrink as the celestial swords continued to vibrate. The celestial swords' attacks ended, but they were unable to break through the holy demon's purple god nirvana whirlpool. And Lin pinned his hopes on the final sword strike. The evil-slaying sword's power had already reached its peak. It drew a deathly black line in the air, and it carried with it a heaven-piercing sword intent as it crashed toward the purple whirlpool like a comet striking the moon. Break! The black sword projection was unstoppable, and it pierced through the purple whirlpool. Even the black hole in the center of the whirlpool was sliced open. Purple halos appeared on the holy demon's arms, and it fiercely slapped the black longsword that was stabbing toward its heart. Boom! The shock waves from the sword projection tore a trench over 1,000 meters in length into the ground. Blood splattered from the holy demon's hands, and the tip of the sword was only 3 inches away from its heart, and Lin's heart felt as if it had fallen into an icy cavern. It blocked it. He had a limited time to use the origin energy of the netherworld, and he had planned to use this technique to completely defeat the holy demon. This was also the most powerful technique he could use at the moment. However, he didn't expect that even this technique would be blocked by the holy demon. A sinister expression appeared on the holy demon's face. "You've really surprised me. I admit that you are indeed a little frighteningly powerful. However, how much longer can your mystic technique last? How many more times can you use this technique? You've lost." And Lin knew that he was already in a dire situation. Even if he used the 100 sword technique again, he might not be able to kill the holy demon. Just what kind of technique could he use to secure victory in a single strike? His mind raced, and he finally thought of a certain technique. "I'll probably die if I use that technique while I'm in the origin energy of the netherworld state," as the holy demon drew closer and closer, and Lin gritted his teeth and made a decision. He couldn't care less anymore. He placed the shield of promised victory in front of his chest, and his left hand drew lightning while his right hand glowed with a golden light. The lightning and golden light slowly fused together. An intent realm of the primordial darkness began to blend together. The violent lightning began to be drawn in by the black threads, and it slowly quieted down. A suffocating might began to spread outward. The holy demon's eyelids twitched when it saw Lin's fist, and it immediately charged toward Lin. Nuclear lightning fist. And Lin let out a loud roar as he thrust out his golden fist. The 30 feet wide golden lightning fist smashed toward the holy demon. Black threads bloomed like a lotus flower within the fist. They brought with them the power of annihilation and violence, pulling at the fist like thin threads, causing it to shrink in an eerie manner. The holy demon didn't even think about it, and it immediately retreated. Everything fell silent. The golden fist that was nearing the holy demon exploded with a loud bang, just as the space around it was unable to withstand the energy. The destructive lightning engulfed the holy demon and Enlin, who was protected by the golden light shield. It annihilated the earth and shattered the island. Finally, a gigantic mushroom cloud rose up from Venerate Demon Island, illuminating the entire world. Chapter 288. The last scene that Enlin saw was boundless light, heat, and lightning filling the entire space. The shield of promised victory's golden light shield blocked a portion of the impact before completely collapsing. The remaining impact still crashed into Enlin's body, tearing his body apart and shattering his internal organs. Ding dong! Detected that the holy demon's heart has been completely destroyed. Mission complete. Beginning level 2 Thunder Essence Cultivation Technique. This was the last sound that Enlin heard. Then he completely fell into darkness. After an unknown period of time, Walala, Walala, Enlin opened his bleary eyes as he listened to the sound of waves crashing into his ears. There were a few white clouds floating in the blue sky. He blinked his eyes and finally recalled what had happened before he fainted. I've finally killed the holy demon. It's all because I'm powerful, decisive, and courageous that I've achieved a great victory. Let's get up first. And Lin raised his neck and tried to sit up. His neck moved, but there was no reaction from his body. Then he discovered something very shocking. F***CK. Why can't I move my waist? I can't move my hands either. I can't move my feet either. No, I can't feel anything other than the area above my neck. He suddenly thought of a phrase, hyperplegia. And Lin, Dubai, clown. He called out loudly. Not far away, a voice suddenly sounded. Big brother, and you're finally awake, woof. A series of hurried footsteps sounded. Dubai's adorable, yet mighty face appeared in front of Enlin. What happened to me? Enlin asked with a bitter expression. Dubai stuck out his tongue. Big brother, you released a nuclear bomb and blasted the holy demon into nothingness. How domineering. Woof. I'm asking what happened to me. And Lin added with tears in his eyes, Can I still be saved? He lifted his neck and glanced at his body. He found that his body was wrapped in white cloth, and a white healing array formation was continuously healing him. Don't panic, don't panic. It was terrifying when you were blown up just now. Your whole body was burnt black, and even one of your legs was gone. Third brother and I were so scared that we thought you were done for. Dubai shook his head and sighed. Although you didn't die at that time, you weren't much better off. You only had one breath left. If it weren't for the fact that Xiao Chou made a prompt decision to forcibly refine your storage ring and find that 9th grade immortal pill, the Azure Yang pill, which can bring a person back to life, and give it to you on the spot, perhaps you really would have been done for. Woof! And Lin listened to the twists and turns of the plot and looked at his feet. It should be the effect of the Azure Yang pill. He was still a little worried. What's going on with me now? Dubai scratched his head. You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? Oh, that's right. Xiao Chou is going to bury the little dragon now. After all, we worked together for a while. It died very peacefully. And Lin, why did the little dragon die? Dubai sighed. After that punch from the holy demon last night, it basically lost more breath than it took in. After that, you suddenly used a nuclear bomb. We didn't have time to move it away, so it was also caught in the blast. And Lin's lips twitched. This was called a peaceful death? However, when he signed the slave contract with the 6-winged Dragon Emperor, there wasn't much emotion involved. He only wanted to use this dragon to find their nest. In order to prevent the demonic dragon from betraying them, he signed the slave contract. However, when he heard the news of the demonic dragon's death, a trace of sorrow welled up in his heart. Sigh. Slaying the holy demon this time was really full of twists and turns. He almost lost his life for the sake of the system cultivation method. And Lin sighed as he opened the system and looked at the cultivation method section. The Thunder Essence cultivation method had already reached the second stage. At the same time, it had also developed a unique immortal spell, Lightning Amplification Technique. Its main effect was to increase the power of lightning-type immortal spells. And Lin thought for a moment. This cultivation method might actually be useful when combined with the lightning manipulation technique. Think about it. If someone threw 100,000 volts of lightning at you, you directly threw that person's lightning back and made it 150,000 volts of lightning. How could that person not despair? I'll throw your lightning. I'll throw it back, and it'll be 2 lightning bolts. With this thought, and Lin was excited again. He wanted to try it out. Soon he came to his senses. F***CK, he was now someone who couldn't even move a finger. How could he use the lightning manipulation technique or lightning amplification technique in this state? He could probably use the divine inspection technique to roll his eyes. And Lin didn't give up. He looked at the other parts of the system. His progression path had already been refreshed. This was a major advancement, so it definitely wasn't a simple matter. Cultivation rank, soul formation, initial stage, condition. Receive the heart of the divine God. Drink the divine God's elixir. Eat the divine paragon fruit. And Lin had actually seen this advancement requirement once when he was in Bolon City. At that time, he was completely dumbstruck. He had no idea what the heart of the divine God, the divine God's elixir, or the divine paragon fruit were. He still didn't understand now. The divine God probably didn't mean the true God. Otherwise, this requirement would be toxic. It was probably something very high and mighty. Dabai and Xiao Cho didn't understand. He thought about asking the principal, Ishi or Chang'e when he had the time. They were all knowledgeable, so they should know. Big brother, and you're finally awake. A cry of joy suddenly sounded in the distance. Soon, and Lin saw an excited monkey face leaning very close to him. And Lin was a little irritated, and he tilted his head to the side before asking, Xiao Cho, how long will it take for me to walk on my own? Among everyone present, Xiao Cho was probably the only one who understood his injuries the best. He was the one who had set up the healing spell formation. The clown stroked his chin, which looked like a buttock's, and said with uncertainty, I've checked your injuries before, and your bones and flesh have basically recovered. Your meridians are still reconnecting, and your vitality is extremely depleted. You'll probably be paralyzed for another dozen or so days. And Lin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Thank God he wasn't really crippled. He would only be paralyzed for a dozen or so days. However, he suddenly realized another problem. Most of his body was paralyzed, so what was he going to do about Xiao Longnu? School was only going to start in a dozen or so days. And Lin took a deep breath before asking, Xiao Cho, are there any more healing spirit pills in my storage ring? He couldn't even move his fingers, so he naturally couldn't use his storage ring. Xiao Cho was slightly taken aback upon hearing this. He didn't know why Lin was asking this, so he nodded with a perplexed expression. There are still a dozen or so spirit pills. And Lin, feed them all to me. Big brotherin, you can't do this. The effects of the immortal pills haven't worn off yet. Not only will they not work, but they might even harm your body. Xiao Cho immediately tried to dissuade Lin. It's fine. My evergreen technique can perfectly assimilate the effects of those pills. Stop nagging and give them to me. Xiao Cho had no choice but to bring out the dozen or so spirit pills from his storage ring under Lin's coercion. He was then greeted by the sight of Lin swallowing a dozen or so spirit pills in one go without any hesitation. This scared the hell out of Xiao Cho. If he ate them like Lin, he would explode and die at any moment. A green halo appeared above Lin's head. The surging energy contained within the dozen or so spirit pills began to violently rush into every part of his body. The evergreen technique was unleashed to its maximum extent, quickly converting the effects of the spirit pills. There was a determined expression on Lin's face as he lay on the healing spell formation. Dragon Court, here I come. Chapter 289. Dragon City was the largest city in the East Sea. It spanned thousands of kilometers and had hundreds of millions of living beings. It was located in the deep sea and was surrounded by a huge enchantment barrier that simulated the sunrise and sunset on the surface. It was now autumn, and Lin rode Dubai to this bustling city. TSK, 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 no wonder Dragon City is the largest city in the East Sea. There are all kinds of buildings and natural scenery, such as mountains, rivers, and lakes. In the past, I wouldn't have believed that such a scene could exist in the deep sea, and Lin exclaimed in amazement, as if he had discovered a paradise. He could move freely now, but his body was still a little weak, and he looked like he had been working too hard. This was also Dubai's first time coming to Dragon City, and his eyes lit up. Not only that, but the girls here are also very beautiful. There are beauties from all races in the East Sea. Big Brotherin, did you see that seahorse just now? That butt is twisting, TSK, and Lin. What was so interesting about a seahorse twisting its butt? When it came to appreciating the beauty of different races, Dubai was probably more professional than him. And Lin, Dubai, and Xiao Cho strolled toward the Dragon Court. The Dragon Court wasn't far from where they had entered the enchantment barrier. They should be able to get there in half a day, so they weren't in a hurry. And Lin was enjoying the local customs and culture here with great interest. At this moment, two prawns walking alongside them spoke. Hey, have you heard? The Dragon Court's 11th princess is going to be betrothed to Xia Zhe of the Divine Guardian Squad. A golden prawn said excitedly. Ha, don't lie to me. Dragon Princess rejected Xia Zhe's advances in public 2 years ago, and it caused a huge commotion in Dragon City. Why did she suddenly change her mind now? The other prawn shook its head in disbelief. I didn't lie to you. As for why she changed her mind, I heard. The golden prawn said in a low voice with a mysterious expression. Little dragon maiden risked her life to save a city of pearls in the Pearl Kingdom. In the end, in order to save a human cultivator, she even sacrificed her bloodline. Now her bloodline is ruined. Otherwise, do you think the Dragon King would be willing to betroth such a promising daughter to the captain of the Divine Guardian Squad? This matter has already spread throughout the Dragon Court, and an announcement will probably be made in the next 1 or 2 days. The other prawn was stunned after hearing that. Why do you sound even more unbelievable? For the sake of a bunch of useless pearls and a human I just met, you're going to ruin your path. Is Xiao Longnu crazy? As the two prawns walked further and further away, and Lin slowly closed his eyes, there was a deep sense of guilt on his face. Let's go, Dubai Fly. Dragon Court, Jade Pavilion. Big Sister Bailian, are you really leaving? Yin Yu grabbed onto Bai Lian's wrist with a reluctant expression on her face. She knew that Bai Lian's departure meant that she was cutting off all ties with the Dragon Court. With the Dragon King's personality, he wouldn't allow her to return to the Dragon Court. Bai Lian smiled faintly and held onto Yin Yu's hand. I don't have a choice, do I? Father wants me to marry someone I don't like at all. I can't agree to this. Since I can't resist, I can only choose to leave. The rims of Yin Yu's eyes turned red, and she didn't know what to say. She knew Bai Lian's personality very well. She was a woman of her word, and no one could force her to do anything. Humph, it's all that human cultivator's fault. What right does he have to make you pay such a price? Yin Yu was full of grievances, but she had no one to complain to, so she pushed all the blame onto that unknown human cultivator. There was a gentle expression on Bai Lian's face as she looked at the little sister she doted on the most in the Dragon Court. No, I'm very glad that I saved him. You'll find out soon enough. Yin Yu blinked her large, bright eyes and stared blankly at her big sister. Bai Lian didn't plan on saying anything else. She hadn't told the Dragon Court the human cultivator's name because she didn't want to create unnecessary trouble for him. However, this matter couldn't be hidden for long. After all, the story of the two of them had already spread throughout the Pearl Kingdom. You would also find out about it sooner or later. She sighed softly. Sometimes fate was really a wonderful thing. If she hadn't saved that human cultivator, the human cultivator wouldn't have appeared on the ancient battlefield. If the human cultivator didn't appear on the ancient battlefield, then it was very likely that Inu would have died there. In other words, saving that human cultivator's life was equivalent to saving Inu's life as well. What kind of cause, what kind of effect? It really wasn't a loss. However, who knew how Inu would feel when she found out about this? Lien took a deep breath and stood up with a carefree expression on her face. I'm leaving. We'll meet again in the future. Inu also stood up. I'll see you off. Bei Lien snapped. Why are you sending me off? It's not like I'm going to do anything serious. I'm going on the run. Inu pouted with a stubborn expression. Then don't forget Little Fish in the future. Big sister. Little Fish is going to train in the outside world. Then I'll contact you via a voice transmission talisman. All right, I got it. Bei Lien patted Inu's head with a gentle expression on her exquisite face. Take good care of yourself. Big sister, you take care too. Inu nodded as she stared at the beautiful figure in front of her. That beautiful figure turned into a streak of rainbow light and flew out of the jadeite pavilion, fleeing into the distance. Bei Lien left quietly, leaving her former home. Out of so many brothers and sisters, she only bid farewell to her little sister, Inu. At the end of the day, apart from Inu, there was nothing else in the Dragon Court that was worthy of her nostalgia. Right now, she just wanted to find a good place to live the rest of her life in peace. Where should I go? A perplexed expression appeared on Bei Lien's cold face. Right at this moment, the voice transmission talisman in her pocket suddenly flashed. This aura is... She faltered as she took out the voice transmission talisman. Why is it him? Why is he contacting me? That's right, he said he was coming to the Dragon Court as a guest, so he should be looking for Little Fish. Bei Lien hesitated for a moment before picking up the voice transmission talisman. Mr. and Lin. It's me, Mr. Bei Lien. I've come to Dragon City. Are you in the Dragon Court? I'll go find you. There's no need. I've already left the Dragon Court. Let's meet again if fate allows it. What fate? Where are you? I'll come find you immediately. And Lin's tone became a little urgent. Bei Lien didn't reply because she saw a figure riding a dog toward her while she was flying. The man riding the dog was also clearly dazed. In the end, he chuckled. Hee, that's a good use of the phrase. Let's meet again if fate allows it. It looks like we're quite fated. The person who had just arrived was none other than Lin, and he was clearly also very surprised. Bei Lien sighed lightly in her heart, but her voice remained cold. Do you need something from me? Yes. And Lin nodded with a hint of guilt and sincerity. I'm sorry I came late and made you suffer so much. Bei Lien was a little confused. What do you mean by coming late and suffering? Are you here to apologize? And Lin shook his head. No, I'm here to repay a debt of gratitude. Repay a debt of gratitude? Bei Lien didn't know whether to laugh or cry, just as she was about to refuse, and Lin's next sentence caused her to be rooted to the spot. I'm here to help you refine and activate your bloodline. Gathering materials takes up too much time. I heard about what happened to you, but I didn't think something like this would happen. If I knew something like this would happen, I would have told you in advance. I'm sorry. Bei Lien had yet to come to her senses, and in Lin's words reverberated in her mind. Refine and activate my bloodline? Chapter 290. But isn't my bloodline already crippled? Even my father can't do anything about it. Do you really have a way to purify and activate it? Bei Lien's eyes widened with incredulity, and Lin nodded with a serious expression. Your father can't activate it, but that doesn't mean others can't. This is a method I obtained from Senior Shanine, and I guarantee it will work. Senior Shanine, are you talking about the heavenly dragon goddess of the dragon tribe? Bei Lian's mouth gaped open as if she had heard something extremely shocking. Shanine was the senior with the highest chance of successfully progressing to the Tao integration stage in the past 10,000 years. If she had chosen the true dragon Tao, she would have most likely succeeded a long time ago. Her experiences had made her a legendary figure in the dragon court, and she was Bei Lian's idol. How could Bei Lian maintain her composure now that Enlin was claiming that she was the one who had devised this method? That's her. And Lin nodded with certainty. I discovered this method through a fortuitous encounter. Let's go somewhere else to talk. And Lin flew off on his dog's back as he spoke. Bei Lian followed behind him in a daze, as if she was still digesting this information. They arrived at a secluded mountain. This place was extremely tranquil, with only the occasional chirping of birds and insects. This is a good place to do things in secret. And Lin nodded with satisfaction as he surveyed the surroundings. Bei Lian, big brother, and there's nothing wrong with the basic meaning. But why does it sound so perverted when it comes out of your mouth? Woof. Dabai heaved a forlorn sigh. Bam. Dabai received another punch to the head. Anyone can say that, but you can't. How dare a perverted dog comment on me? And Lin snapped. Woof. A crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Like master, like dog, Dabai retorted. And Lin's chest constricted upon hearing this. F***ck. Dabai's words were like self-inflicted wounds. A faint smile appeared on Bei Lian's face as she watched the two of them play around. She slowly recovered from Enlin's words. Although she was very excited, she was not in a hurry to speak. She only stared at the man in front of her with a pair of beautiful eyes filled with anticipation. And Lin realized that Bei Lian had been staring at him this entire time, and he couldn't help but blush. He coughed lightly and said, "Stop fooling around, let's get down to business." As he spoke, he began to fish out one item after another from his storage ring. This is the 1,000-year moon sinking, what I got from the Green Island. This is the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon that I found in the ancient battlefield of the Dragon Court. The dark ice crystal from the heavenly frost island. The desolate fire bone from the soaring snake volcano. The divine white herb from the venerate Devil Island. Bei Lian silently stared at the items that Enlin had taken out from his storage ring. These items all contained extremely powerful energy fluctuations, and just a single glance was enough to tell that they were all extraordinary items. In particular, when she saw the ancient purple vine and the true blood of the winged dragon, her heart trembled violently. She had heard the names of these two items from Inu. Wasn't the reason why Enlin had ventured into the ancient battlefield so that he could obtain these two items? So that's why. So Enlin had ventured into the ancient battlefield to collect these two items in order to resolve the issue of her bloodline. These are the items. Later, I will set up a bloodline purification spell formation with Xiao Chou. You don't need to do anything else other than meditate at the center of the spell formation and circulate your true dragon mantra. And Lin was clearly much more serious now that he was talking about business. The spell formation was extremely complex. After all, this was not an ordinary spell formation, and it required an extremely large amount of energy. Not only did it require the activation of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but it also required the support of 100,000 spirit stones. Just setting up this spell formation took 2 hours. Immediately after that, it was time to activate the spell formation. And Lin and Xiao Chou were the main operators of the spell formation. They stood on opposite ends of the spell formation and injected their vital energy into the spell formation to guide the energy. The spell formation was activated, and the projection of an ancient golden dragon appeared between heaven and earth with boundless majesty. The essence of all the materials was drawn upon by the spell formation and transformed into thin streams that flowed into Bei Lian's body, cleansing her bloodline that had become unbearably mottled. It was very easy to completely destroy something, but it was many times more difficult to restore something that had been destroyed. It was like smashing a priceless piece of porcelain and restoring a broken piece of porcelain to its original state. The two were on completely different levels of difficulty. The first step now was to purify Bei Lian's bloodline and remove the impurities. This step was equivalent to piecing together a broken piece of porcelain according to its original appearance. The second step was to reactivate the bloodline that had already died. This was a process from death to life. It was equivalent to piecing together the broken pieces and combining them together to form the original piece of porcelain. This was a miraculous step. Before they knew it, they had already reached the second step. The spell formation began to spin more violently as the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and spirit stones quickly flowed into the spell formation, causing the projection of the golden dragon to become more and more substantial. All of the materials quickly withered, and their energy was absorbed by the golden dragon before being injected into Bei Lian's body. A withered tree was given a new lease on life. After what seemed like an eternity, a joyous dragon's roar reverberated throughout heaven and earth. It was as if it was saying, "I, the dragon princess, have returned." That's right, the cold and confident dragon princess had returned. Bei Lian stood up straight and sensed the surging life force within her bloodline. This life force was even more powerful than before she had sacrificed her bloodline, and Lin was completely exhausted and lay on the ground with sweat pouring down his face. He swallowed an energy-replenishing spirit pill. His body hadn't fully recovered in the first place, and after such a torment, he really felt like he couldn't stand up anymore. "Haha. See, the dragon princess, you were right to trust me. I've succeeded, haven't I?" And Lin chuckled triumphantly. To be honest, he wasn't very confident before he started the spell formation. After all, he had the theoretical knowledge, but he hadn't tried it out yet. Who knew what would go wrong along the way? But after Enlin heard that dragon's roar, he knew he had succeeded. Bei Lian stared at Enlin with a complex expression. She had sacrificed her bloodline to save Enlin's life. She didn't think too much about it at the time, nor did she expect that Enlin would return a dozen or so days later with the materials that could reactivate her bloodline and give her a new lease on life. "Thank you." Bei Lian didn't know what to say and only managed to utter these two words after thinking for a long time. And Lin waved his hands with a smile. "No need to thank me. If it weren't for you, I would have died in Bolan City. This is to repay you for saving my life. Also, my life is more valuable than yours, so it won't be so easy to repay this debt." I don't think I have anything to give you right now, but one day I'll make a meteoric rise and my name will resound throughout the entire continent. When that time comes, I'll protect you." Bei Lian pursed her lips into a smile. "All right, then I'll have to hug you tightly." And Lin nodded with a matter-of-fact expression. "Then what do you plan to do next?" Bei Lian naturally knew what Enlin was asking. Now that she had recovered the power of her bloodline, she could regain her status in the Dragon Court at any time if she wanted to. But did she really have to go back? A friend in need was a friend indeed. When everyone learned that her bloodline had been crippled and her cultivation base had stagnated, all of her seemingly friendly siblings, with the exception of Inu, became extremely cold and indifferent. There wasn't even a single hypocritical expression of concern for her. Her father even ignored her wishes and forcefully betrothed her to Xiaze. Even though she knew that her family's personalities were like this, when it really happened to her, she was still bitterly disappointed. Was this kind of heartless family, a family that was only supported by a bloodline from a different mother, really worth cherishing? "I don't want to go back." Bei Lian took a deep breath and smiled. After leaving the Dragon Court, she would lose all of her cultivation resources, cultivation methods, pills, spirit stones, materials, everything. She would become an itinerant cultivator and she would have to fight for everything on her own. But for some reason, she just didn't want to go back. And Lynn could understand her decision. What F***king era was this? How could arranged marriages still be popular in the cultivation world? Just this alone made him dislike the Dragon Court. Wasn't this illegal? And Lynn, remember to pass on a message to Inu when you go to the Dragon Court. Tell her that my bloodline has already recovered, and I'm going to travel the continent for a few years. Tell her not to worry, and tell her to keep this a secret for me. You're not going to tell her yourself? That's enough. Emotions are easily expended. We've already bid farewell once. What a waste of emotions if we have to do it again. You've left me speechless. Then, and Lynn, we'll meet again if fate wills it. Goodbye, Dragon Princess. Bei Lian looked at Lynn with a gentle expression, as if she had a million words to say. But in the end, she only smiled like a spring breeze, waved her hand, and flew away. From then on, there was one more person in the corner of her heart, and he was labeled as someone she liked. Chapter 291. After watching little Dragon Maiden leave, and Lynn and the others made their way back to the Dragon Court. In reality, his purpose in coming to the Dragon Court was to repurify and activate little Dragon Maiden's bloodline. As for going to the Dragon Court to read books, that was just a side benefit. But now he had another mission to deliver information. And Lynn arrived at the main gate of the Dragon Court and was astonished by the exquisitely beautiful pavilions within. Extravagant, this was way too extravagant. Every pavilion was like a work of art. Their designs were pleasing to the eye, and the landscaping plants were all types of rare spirit plants. Even the paths were paved with spirit jade. What a blatant display of wealth! And Lynn stood at the entrance and shook his head with a sigh. He really wanted to move all the bricks on the ground of the Dragon Court. Now that he thought about it, it wasn't impossible to get rich by moving bricks. And Lynn pulled out his voice transmission talisman and quickly connected to someone. "Hello, Mr. Inu. I'm at your doorstep." "Ah, wait a moment. I'll be right there." Inu's excited voice sounded from the voice transmission talisman. Soon, a lithe and graceful young woman in white appeared before Lynn. She was sitting on a giant turtle that could fly. There was a faint smile on her face, and she seemed to be a little melancholy. "I've been waiting for you for a long time. Let's go. I'll show you around the Dragon Court." Inu gestured for Lynn to sit on the turtle. And Lynn had never sat on a creature like this before, so he was a little interested and jumped onto the turtle's shell. He then became a little worried. With me, Dabai, and Xiao Chao's weight on top of this turtle, will it still be able to fly? At this moment, an unhurried voice sounded. "I can even carry a mountain on my back, let alone you little brats. Hey, you can talk." And Lynn's eyes lit up. The old turtle rolled its eyes and expressed its disdain in an extremely vivid manner. And Lynn didn't say anything else and swam around the Dragon Court with Inu. The Dragon Court was huge, and there were many interesting sights. Inu acted as a tour guide, talking nonstop about the special features of the landscape, such as the Pearl Mountain, the Azure Dragon Forest, the Jade Lake, the Immortal Brew Spring, the 10 Miles Coral Sea, and so on. They were all marvelous sceneries, and in Lynn's horizons were greatly broadened. During this period, he even saw the 7th Prince, Aoyun, who was a middle-aged man with an elegant demeanor. When Aoyun found out that Lynn was Inu's friend, he didn't ask much. He only exchanged a few polite words with Lynn before leaving, giving off a natural and friendly feeling. Don't be fooled by their smiling faces. They're actually all drama queens, Inu said coldly, curling her lips. And Lynn was taken aback. Is that how you talk about your big brother? Originally, Inu wouldn't have had this kind of attitude. However, after experiencing the incident with Bei Lian in the ancient battlefield, she had completely understood the relationship between these so-called siblings. As such, she no longer held any expectations. It's all your fault, Inu said hatefully, and Lynn was dazed upon hearing this. He didn't know what this girl was up to this time. It's also my father's fault. He had so many children. Is he raising pigs or dragons? Yu continued hatefully, and Lin. 13th princess, please be careful with your words, the old turtle suddenly said. Humph. For some reason, Yu thought of Bei Lian and her eyes reddened. She had already lost all interest in playing. Seeing this, and Lin hurriedly said, Ms. Yu, why don't we find a place to read for a while? All right. Yu nodded. Soon. She brought in Lin to the pavilion she lived in. Seeing that there was no one around, and Lin said in a low voice, I'll tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone. Yu had only just come out with a book in her hands when she blinked her large, bright eyes at Lin. She was a bit dazed. Why didn't Lin suddenly have a secret to tell her? After a few seconds, she nodded hesitantly. The person Ms. Bei Lian saved in Bolan City was me. Her bloodline has already been purified and reactivated with my help. However, she's decided to travel the continent for a few years. I hope you won't tell anyone about the secret of her recovering the power of her bloodline. Yu was dumbstruck. She stared blankly at Lin as she digested his words. And Lin was that mysterious human cultivator that she cursed 10 times a day? Big Sister Bei Lian's bloodline could be purified and reactivated? She succeeded with Lin's help? After recovering her bloodline, Big Sister Bei Lian still chose to travel the continent by herself? This was a bit too much information. She needed some time to digest it. Yu took out her voice transmission talisman to contact Big Sister Bei Lian. Big Sister Bei Lian didn't pick up, but she left a message. And Lin is right. I won't be returning to the Dragon Court for now. Take care of yourself, Big Sister Yu. It was clear that Bei Lian knew that Yu would send her a voice transmission talisman, so she left a message in advance. Say, how could it be such a coincidence? Yu's crisp and pleasant voice sounded again. There was a look of astonishment on her face as she stared unblinkingly at Lin, and Lin shrugged. Fate is something that can't be said for sure. In any case, I've already delivered the message. Your big sister is fine, so don't worry. Yu nodded, and a vibrant smile finally appeared on her face. Here, this is the book on quantum theory compiled by the high priest of our tribe. Take a look and ask me if there's anything you don't understand. She handed the book to Lin, and Lin didn't refuse. He took the book and sat down on a chair before beginning to study it. The language of this book was still the Tai Chu characters, so he didn't seem to have any difficulty reading it. His foundation in physics was actually quite mediocre, but he was actually able to understand this book. This was because this was a completely different concept from the quantum theory on Earth. The study of quantum states also went from shallow to deep, and the parameters involved even included the laws of time, space, vital energy, cause and effect, etc. However, the content of the book didn't form a complete systematic theory. Most of it was just a general analysis and conjecture of certain phenomena, including some classical experiments. There was a very interesting study in which a certain dragon tribe scientist used a spatial artifact to transport an evil spirit from an ancient battlefield. After placing it in the outside world, they discovered that the quantum state of the evil spirit had become extremely unstable. Very quickly, the evil spirit died on its own, and even its body completely dissipated. The dragon tribe researchers hypothesized that the power that caused the evil spirit to disappear originated from a factor called emotional attachment. They hypothesized that the evil spirit also had emotions. The evil spirit was a type of spiritual resentment that was related to the living beings that had died on the battlefield. They would become attached to the place where they died and were born. Once they left that place, their emotions would become extremely unstable, and this would affect the instability of their quantum state. In the end, they would self-destruct, and Lin agreed with this point. For some reason, he couldn't help but think of evil demons, and he felt that the two seemed to have some similarities. He read very quickly, mainly because his cultivation base was higher and his mind was also more agile. His memory and comprehension abilities had also improved, and he could also use some immortal spells to engrave everything he read into his mind. He finished reading this book in less than half a day. Phew, this trip wasn't a bad one. And Lin closed the book with a smile on his face. Inu sat in another chair and rested her chin on her hands. She giggled. What else do you want to read? I still have the study of bloodline fusion, racial biology, cause and effect analysis, spatial manipulation. And Lin felt a headache coming on as he listened to Inu's long list of subjects. No way. I'm only interested in ghosts and monsters, which is why I'm looking for a book to read. It wasn't easy for me to become an immortal and get rid of the problems of all these subjects. He thought about it for a moment before sighing. But I didn't think that the Dragon Court would be researching so many things. Inu looked at him with a smile and said, What I've said is just some superficial knowledge. More in-depth theories and research experiments seem to be planning to mass-produce some genetic warriors in the research institute that the High Priest is in charge of. And Lin's eyes lit up. He's so powerful and he's a genetic warrior? Inu waved a delicate hand. They're all leftovers from the Purple Star civilization. We're just picking them up and copying them. The Dragon Court has been beaten to a pulp, so they're trying to learn from others. Puffed. You're even using a quote from Earth. I like to read. There's a senior from the Dragon Tribe who used to be a student at Xiaoxian United University. He went to Earth and brought back a bunch of books. I've read all of them. Impressive. And Lin felt like Inu's personality was quite good. She was sincere and easygoing, so it was quite easy to get along with her. He was quite happy to make friends with her. There were only a few days left until the start of the new semester, so he decided to leave the Dragon Court after dinner. Inu bade farewell to Lin with a smile. And Lin, I'll come to the Celestial Court to look for you when I have time. All right, let's keep in touch via voice transmission talisman. Just like that, the meeting between the two of them ended peacefully. No one caused any trouble, and there were no unexpected incidents. As for the Dragon King's rage after learning that Bei Lian had left, that had nothing to do with him. Chapter 292. This was a fulfilling holiday, and Lin once again witnessed the diversity of the world. Look at how beautiful Xiao Longnu is. How beautiful Princess Inu is. How beautiful Chi-Chi is. The world is still a beautiful place. And Lin rode on to Bai and sang happily as he returned to school. The familiar campus, the familiar environment, and the familiar people. In the third-year Jade Water District, an unlucky person walked toward him. Hey, and Lin, long time no see. A man with skin as dark as charcoal and red lips, with only white eyes, walked over and greeted him enthusiastically. And Lin grimaced and sized up the man in front of him. After a long while, he finally said, Lu DeBeo, did you King go sunbathing again? Lu DeBeo was excited and shook hands with him. And Lin, you're the first person I've greeted so many times to recognize me. I recognized you from your voice. And Lin said solemnly, Lu DeBeo. This was in Lin's truth. Lu DeBeo was now so dark that even his facial features were indistinguishable. Recognize me from my face? What a joke! Perhaps it was because he had suffered many blows. But Lu DeBeo quickly regained his composure. He still had a smile on his face as he said, Don't look down on this brother's dark skin. I absorbed the essence of the sun on Sun Island in the East China Sea during the holiday, and I've already achieved initial success in my divine sun technique. Even my rank has broken through to the 8th stage Tao body. Lu DeBeo used 2 years to break through from the 4th stage Tao body to the 8th stage. From a speed perspective, this was already very shocking. Congratulations, congratulations. And Lin was sincerely happy for Lu DeBeo. You were also in the East China Sea during the holiday. What a coincidence! I also went to the East China Sea during the holiday. Lu DeBeo's eyes lit up. What did you play? Did you see the mysterious mermaid? Or was it the high and mighty sea goddess? Did you go to the short horse tooth empire or the water sun empire? The girls there are really good. Ah. And Lin was embarrassed. So these are the fun places in Donghai. He had never been to any of them. I mainly play around in the Pearl Kingdom and on the surrounding islands. And Lin replied with an honest expression. Near the Pearl Empire? That place is very close to the 7 devilish regions. There are the infamous 7 great, demonic emperors of the East Sea. It's not very safe to go there. You might run into trouble, Lu Debao said solemnly, and Lin nodded and grumbled. That's right, it sure was a lot of trouble. I finally managed to kill 6 sea spirit emperors, only to have AF Asterisk King, holy demon pop, out of nowhere. How troublesome, I almost died. When Lu Debao heard this, he almost couldn't breathe. Oh my God, you killed 6 of the 7 demonic thearchs. That's right. One of them joined me, but it died a heroic death in the final battle against the Saint Devil. A hint of pity appeared on Lin's face as he shook his head. Lu Debao was dumbstruck. Killed 6 demonic thearchs? He even made a demonic thearch join his side? And that great war of saints and demons, whose name sounds awesome. F asterisk CK. What kind of F asterisk king holiday was this? You even swept through the 7 devilish regions. Lu Debao's lips twitched as he looked at Lin. He didn't know what to say. The gap between their holidays was too big. While he was sunbathing, and Lin had already gone off to save the world. Classmate and Lin really has the heart of the continent at heart. You don't forget to exterminate evil and do good even when you're on holiday. Lu Debao finally spoke after a long while. It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. And Lin smiled and waved his hand humbly. Lu Debao was about to vomit blood. If it's not worth mentioning, don't F asterisk king say it out loud. Why did he look so happy and smug? He definitely did it on purpose. Debao, I'm not bragging to you, but this time I didn't just go to the East Sea to fight all kinds of sea monsters. I also had a beautiful encounter. Do you know about Xiao Longnu? Do you know about Princess Inu from the Dragon Court? It's okay if you don't know, I'll tell you slowly. Lu Debao's charcoal face darkened even more. It was a bright and sunny day. But why did he feel a little suffocated? He had been listening to Lin brag for most of the day. After Lin was satisfied, he bade farewell to Lu Debao and walked toward his own room. Unexpectedly, he had only walked halfway when a handsome man with an extraordinary temperament and elegant white clothes walked towards him. The man still had a warm smile on his face. He was clearly in a good mood. Classmate and Lin, long time no see. A warm voice sounded from the man's mouth. Haha, Big Brother Ching, congratulations on coming out of seclusion. And Lin also greeted him with a joyful expression. One had to realize that Big Brother Cheng had appeared before him now, which meant that Big Brother Cheng had already broken through to spirit nurturing final stage. This was truly worthy of celebration. Xianyuan Cheng chuckled and shook his head. There's nothing worth celebrating about that. I've been slacking off in my cultivation anyway, so I decided to work hard and catch up to them. He then encouraged, and Lin, work hard. Perhaps you'll be able to break through to spirit nurturing intermediate stage very soon. And Lin scratched his head. Well, I actually broke through to spirit nurturing intermediate stage during the holidays. Xianyuan Cheng was slightly dazed upon hearing this. Classmate and Lin is so awesome. I believe that you'll be able to break through to spirit nurturing final stage soon. I'm actually already at spirit nurturing final stage now. And Lin smiled sheepishly. Xianyuan Cheng was dumbstruck. Well, I had some miraculous encounters during the holidays, so I broke through to spirit nurturing final stage, and Lin explained earnestly. Xianyuan Cheng's face convulsed upon hearing this, and he drew a sharp intake of breath. Holy F asterisk CK! What kind of miraculous encounter could allow someone to break through to spirit nurturing final stage in less than a month. He had gone into seclusion for an entire holiday, and only then did he break through from the pinnacle of spirit nurturing intermediate stage to spirit nurturing final stage. And Lin only used one holiday to progress from spirit nurturing initial stage to spirit nurturing final stage. Both of them had true God letters of recommendation. So why was there such a huge disparity between them? Then, Xianyuan Cheng suddenly thought of something else. He had entered spirit nurturing initial stage when he first entered spirit nurturing final stage, and after 2 years of hard work, he had finally progressed to spirit nurturing final stage. And Lin had entered spirit nurturing final stage, and after 2 years of hard work, he had finally progressed to spirit nurturing final stage. Xianyuan Cheng fell silent. For the first time, he felt like his cultivation aptitude was a pile of dog sh*t. Why did he have to be so complacent? Why did he feel like he was a prodigy? Why did he have to be so happy that he had progressed to spirit nurturing final stage? Big Brother Cheng, what's wrong? Your eyes are red. And Lin was given a fright. Really? Maybe it's because the sandstorm is too strong and it got into my eyes. Xianyuan Cheng rubbed his eyes. And Lin, what a cliché excuse. The people on Earth don't even know how to use it anymore. Then, as if he had figured something out, Xianyuan Cheng's eyes suddenly lit up, and his grief and self-blame were all swept away. That's right. Why do I have to compare myself to a freak like him? Classmate in Lin is a freak who could slay mighty figures at the return to void pinnacle stage, even though he's only at the Tao body stage. Isn't comparing myself to someone like him just asking for trouble? Xianyuan Cheng smiled warmly at Enlin and patted his shoulder. Classmate Enlin, congratulations. Your cultivation base has improved greatly. Enlin was given quite a fright by Xianyuan Cheng's sudden change in expression. Why is Big Brother Cheng so fickle? However, he was still quite happy to brag to Big Brother Cheng about his experiences in the EC. However, what puzzled Enlin was that Big Brother Cheng's expression remained indifferent no matter how he talked about slaying an Emperor-level sea monster or blowing up a holy demon. It was as if this was how it was supposed to be, and Lin was quite disappointed. What the F***CK? This is my Hall of Fame achievement. Can't you at least give me a look of surprise? Complimenting Enlin with classmate Enlin, how are you so strong, was fine too. In the end, Enlin bade farewell to Xianyuan Cheng in disappointment. There was no point in bragging to Big Brother Cheng. Chapter 293. After bidding farewell to Xianyuan Cheng, Enlin walked toward the dorm with a perplexed expression. He was now the most famous person in the school, and students often came to greet him. It was a pretty good feeling, especially when he was riding on to buy and greeting other students. He always felt like he was a leader inspecting the work of the school. And Lin encountered Su Qianyan, who was also taking a leisurely stroll on the way. Hey, classmate Su Qianyan, how was your holiday? Same old. I spent some time with Big Sister Chang. Then went back to the Imperial Palace to rest for a while. Oh, that's not bad. Let me tell you, I'm spirit nurturing final stage now. My God, classmate Lin is so awesome. You're too kind. After bragging for a while, he was in a good mood and saw a girl with short pink hair sitting on a jade bench. Hey, Senior Lu Qianhuan, how was your holiday? I was bored to death. No one played games with me. You should have gone to Earth for your holiday. Sigh, don't even mention it. I didn't get a spot. I've even been blacklisted by the school for descending to the mortal world. It's because I led a small team of people to participate in a game competition and delayed something important. The relevant departments in the mortal world reported me to the heavenly court. Serves you right. By the way, you've been at the half-step soul formation stage for so long. Have you broken through yet? Just a little bit more. Why so slow? Let me tell you, I'm spirit nurturing final stage now. Why? Holy F***CK, aren't you surprised? Should I be surprised? You can't beat me in League of Valor anyway. And Lin patted Dabai's bum and continued forward until he saw a green figure in front of him. Hey, Xiaolan, how was your holiday? Little Lin, I was going to ask you if you still have the consciousness of a master. Why did you leave Xiaohong with me? Do you know what it feels like when I go to sleep at the Vermilion Bird sect and suddenly hear the song of a giant windmill in my bosom? Sorry, I forgot. Speaking of which, where is Little Red now? Humph, she's in a flower pot in my attic. I don't even need to set the alarm in the morning. I'll just listen to her singing the windmill. Ahem, calm down. How's your assimilation of Xin Yin's inheritance? There's basically no problem. After I absorbed the thunder energy of the Black Thunder Dragon Ball, the dragon and phoenix bloodlines went from suppressing each other to fusing with each other. The other inheritances are also gradually integrating, and I'm almost at the stage of comprehending my personal domain. Wow, your cultivation speed is simply unfathomable. It's all thanks to you. If there's another treasure hunt next time, don't forget to call me. We'll see. Xiaolan, I actually have something to tell you. I'm already at spirit nurturing final stage. Oh, did you eat something weird this time, or was you hit by some weird method to break through? Xiaolan, am I such a person in your eyes? Yes. And Lin suddenly felt very depressed. Why was flexing so difficult now that his cultivation base had advanced by leaps and bounds? Shouldn't everyone draw a sharp intake of breath, then marvel at his exceptional aptitude, then worship him to the extreme? But among so many people, only classmate Su Qianyin seemed to have such a reaction. Why was that? And Lin pondered seriously, trying to find the root of the problem. After all, without flexing, cultivation would become dull and boring. At this moment, a well-built man walked toward them. Yo, Luo Zipping, how was your holiday? Haha, big brotherin, I was just about to tell you the good news. I broke through to spirit nurturing stage. Congratulations. You're the 6th student in our class to break through to spirit nurturing stage, right? Not only that, I heard Sun Xinglian and Miao Tian have also broken through to spirit nurturing stage. It's all thanks to the Purple Star bloodline inheritance. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly. TSK, this is great news. Our original team is invincible. Actually, your team leader is doing very well too. He's already at spirit nurturing final stage. Haha. Big brother and is obviously awesome. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me you're already at soul formation stage. Can't you be surprised for a moment? Shocked for a moment? Huh. Why would I be shocked? After bidding farewell to Luo Zipping, and Lin became even more depressed. I'm a man who broke through from spirit nurturing initial stage to spirit nurturing final stage in a month. Can't you guys give me some reaction? Dabai, why is it so difficult for me to flex with my cultivation base? Hee, big brotherin, you've already flexed in the mortal world. There's no hope for you anymore, woof. And Lin slapped his forehead and heaved a resigned sigh. So be it, it was a new year, he shouldn't think too much about it. I'm going to cultivate hard and improve every day. And Lin pulled himself together and invited Xiaohong back to their team together with Dabai, all of whom expressed their apologies. Xiaohong didn't feel any resentment toward her master and underlings for forgetting her. Instead, she was quite content. After all, photosynthesis was the same no matter where she was. She was photosynthesizing every day beside Su Xiaolan, and she was photosynthesizing every day beside Lin. Was there a difference? There was no difference. Xiaohong, do you know I'm already at spirit nurturing final stage? Wow, master is so awesome. Do you know how to sing Twinkle, 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 Little Star? Huh, you don't? Then I'll teach you. A sweet singing voice sounded. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. The sky is full of little stars hanging in the sky and shining like many little eyes. Tears streamed down in Lin's face. Were there no normal people around him? Why was flexing so difficult? The adorable and ignorant juniors once again came to school. Soon, they also heard about the legendary figure of the school, Senior and Lin. He was a supremely powerful man who could tear a monarch apart with his bare hands and shatter the heavens with a single finger. He was the school's legend, the pride of the school. No matter how ridiculous things were, they wouldn't be surprised if they happened to him. The juniors were all dumbstruck when they heard about these feats. Wow, Senior and Lin is so awesome. I really want to see him. I heard that he only spent one holiday to break through from spirit nurturing initial stage to spirit nurturing final stage. Isn't that normal? He could thrash a monarch at the return to void pinnacle stage with just his Tao body stage. What's so strange about him breaking through 2 small stages in one holiday? That makes sense. I'm making a fuss out of nothing. Just like that, the juniors were bombarded with all sorts of glorious feats by Senior and Lin as soon as they entered the school, and all of them developed extremely strong antibodies to him. Thus, and Lin's flexing path became even more distant and distant. His third-year university life also began in a peaceful and tranquil atmosphere. Chapter 294. The cultivation life of the third year began to go on the right track. Time passed slowly and peacefully, and Lin had already consolidated his cultivation base and was progressing toward a higher level. The next step was to attain a domain, but he didn't know what kind of domain he would attain. However, as a sword immortal, it would be best if Lin could attain a domain of tens of thousands of swords or a domain of sword intent. That would be more fitting for his status. In order to attain a domain, he had watched the sunrise and sunset, sat silently under the starry sky, listened to the waves in the forest, and danced under a waterfall. He had done all sorts of cool things. However, there was still no effect. Xiao Chou, do you think my method of attaining domain is wrong? Why is it that there's no effect even after so many days? And Lin was a little dejected. Xiao Chou scratched the fur on his head. You can't say that it's the wrong method. In order to attain a domain, one has to be in harmony with the environment around them. A place that's more conducive to attaining a domain is more beneficial to attaining one's domain. Attaining a domain isn't an easy task either. On the contrary, it's a huge dividing line. There are many cultivators of the spirit-nurturing final stage who can't attain a domain their entire lives. So don't be too impatient, big brother, and Lin shuddered upon hearing this. If his aptitude wasn't up to par and it took him a few decades to attain a domain, he would cry himself to death. Oh no, I can't take this risk. I'll just have to ask the system for help. Within the pill refinement room of the Do Shui Palace, the chubby man saw his idol again. Mr. Lin, what pill are you here for this time? She's eyes lit up as he asked excitedly. I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you, and Lin replied sheepishly. Shi the Enlightened was the eldest disciple of Lord Taishang. He was very knowledgeable and a first-rate pill refinement master, so it should be no problem to ask him for guidance. You're welcome. Tell me, what questions have you encountered? Shi had met Lin a few times before, and he wanted to build a good relationship with this pill-consuming mighty figure as well, so he was quite enthusiastic about this matter. And Lin thought about it for a moment before revealing the ingredients required to progress to the soul formation stage. Senior Shi, have you heard of the heart of the divine god, the divine god's elixir, and the divine paragon fruit? Shi's eyes widened upon hearing this, and he drew a sharp intake of breath. Why are you asking about these 3 things? I want to collect them. They're useful. Holy *T. Collect them? Why are you using these things? What's wrong? Can't I? And Lin blinked in confusion. He didn't understand why Shi was reacting so strongly. It's not a matter of whether or not you can do it. Shi massaged his brows and looked at Lin with a solemn expression. It's just that these 3 items are too high level. Why do you want to come into contact with them? Take the divine paragon fruit, for example. Aren't spirit and immortal grade spirit pills usually categorized into spirit and immortal grade? And Lin nodded. I'm aware of that. Spirit and immortal grade pills are categorized from 9 grades to 1, with the first grade being the highest. She looked at Lin with a solemn expression. Then do you know that there's another grade above immortal grade? And Lin faltered slightly upon hearing this, and a speculation surfaced in his mind as his lips twitched. It can't be divine grade, can it? That's right, it's divine grade. The divine paragon fruit you want is a divine grade fruit. A curious expression appeared on Ishi's face as he continued. So, what do you want a fruit of this grade for? Holy F *CK. And Lin couldn't help but swear. An ultimate creation pill already cost me over 10 million spirit stones, so wouldn't a divine paragon fruit bankrupt me? He suddenly sensed the system's malicious intent. Eat a divine paragon fruit? How could a poor C** and T like him afford it? That's not necessarily the case. There's a difference between a divine fruit and an immortal pill. After all, an ultimate creation pill, which is comparable to a first-grade immortal pill, requires many high-grade, immortal-grade ingredients to refine, so it's naturally more expensive. A divine fruit isn't that expensive. It's just that there's no market for it. She glanced at Lin. The divine paragon fruit is a divine fruit, blessed by the heavens and possesses sentience. Not only can it move freely from birth, but it can also speak some simple languages, just like a high-grade intelligent life form. It's so precious that even a true god wouldn't be willing to sell it to others. So how would you be able to obtain it? That's why I'm so surprised that you want to collect these things. This is an impossible mission. Don't even think about it. And Lin was a little dazed upon hearing this. For some reason, he suddenly thought of something strange. After a moment of hesitation, he pulled out the golden ginseng from his storage ring and placed it on the ground. This was a golden ginseng that was half the size of a grown man with a small flower on its head. It opened its bright eyes as soon as it appeared. Papa! It let loose an excited yell as it latched onto Lin's leg. Go away! Aren't your papas Gundam 1 and Gundam 2? And Lin was a little dumbstruck as he shook off the golden ginseng's arms. The golden ginseng stumbled back a few steps and pouted with an aggrieved expression. It looked up at the round Ishi and let loose a cry as it hugged Ishi's leg. Mama! Papa is bullying me. Holy F *CK. I'm not your mother. No, holy F *CK. What the F *CK is this thing? She was given a fright. What the hell was this golden ginseng that could run and yell? And it was calling him Papa and Mama? Were he and Lin husband and wife? He gave birth to a ginseng. This divine energy fluctuation, this rich aura of life, this ginseng. After a moment of panic, Ishi's eyes widened as if he had seen something inconceivable. He stood rooted to the spot for a moment before yelling again. Holy F *CK! Isn't this the divine reincarnation ginseng? And Lin calmed himself down and was a little perplexed by Ishi's expression. You also recognize the first-grade immortal reincarnation ginseng. What first-grade immortal? She asked excitedly. This is a divine paragon fruit. It's already evolved. And Lin blinked, and a smile of surprise appeared on his face. It really is a divine paragon fruit. I'm quite lucky. When he heard Ishi describe the divine paragon fruit, he felt that this ginseng was a little similar to the divine paragon fruit. They could both move freely and speak a simple language, like highly intelligent creatures. Who would have thought that it really was a divine paragon fruit? I'm not just lucky, I'm super lucky. This is a treasure that can only be found by chance. Ishi's body was trembling with excitement as he stared at the golden ginseng, hugging his leg with a crystalline liquid dripping from the corner of his mouth. And Lin was so frightened by this that he immediately stowed the ginseng into his storage ring. A blush appeared on Ishi's face. I take back what I just said. I didn't think that you really would have a divine paragon fruit, and Lin was a little smug. He didn't think that he would be 1/3 of the way to the soul formation stage. This was like giving him a pillow when he was sleepy. After that, he couldn't help but become curious about the other 2 items. Senior Ishi, can you tell me what the heart of the Divine God and the Divine God's elixir are now? She looked deeply into Enlin's eyes before replying in a slow voice. The heart of the Divine God is a type of inherited divine level mental manifestation. It can't be forcibly taken or transported, and it can only be voluntarily fused with. There's a certain probability that it will appear in the graves of beings with extremely powerful consciousnesses. The Divine God's elixir is a type of inherited divine level energy body. Usually, the Divine God's elixir will appear wherever the heart of the Divine God appears. Enlin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this. That sounds pretty good. It's even easier to combine the 2. She rolled his eyes. Easy? Are you kidding me? The first grave in which the heart of the Divine God and the Divine God's elixir appear must have a cultivation base of at least the return to void stage, and they must also possess an extremely powerful consciousness. Furthermore, they must also be influenced by the environment. It can be said that you might not be able to find those materials even if you dug up 10 graves. That's all right, I'll take it slow. And Lin didn't appear to be too dejected. One last question. What do the heart of the Divine God and the Divine God's elixir look like? She waved a hand. I've never seen them either. I've heard that the heart of the Divine God is a ball of white, while the Divine God's elixir is a strip of white. And Lin, what an extremely graphic description. He had nothing to say in response. Thankfully, at the very least, Enlin's path to the Divine God was set in stone. Tomb Raider King, he was definitely going to be one. Chapter 295. Tomb raiding wasn't something that could be done on a whim, especially when it was the tomb of a return to void stage mighty figure. If he wanted to rob it, he had to know where the tomb was. He had obtained the map of the Winter Dragon Tomb from an ancient artifact. This required opportunity and even more so fate, and Lin thought about it for a moment. It would be very difficult to rob a tomb, and it wouldn't be any easier than making a breakthrough on his own. Hence, he had to think about it carefully. For now, it was better for him to focus on his studies and cultivation. Before he knew it, another half a month had passed. Dabai took the Divine Vitality Condensing Immortal Pill that Su Xiaolan had given him and broke through to Spirit Nurturing Final Stage, catching up to Enlin's cultivation base. After observing his domain for a period of time, Xiao Chou swallowed the ancient divine pill that Enlin had given him and reached the half-step soul formation initial stage to become a soul beast of the soul formation initial stage. That day, the entire Full Moon Mountain was covered in dark clouds, gale force winds, and thunder. The commotion was so great that it even alerted many of the school's higher-ups. However, when they learned that it was Enlin's beast pet who had broken through to soul formation stage, they all left in disappointment. What? So it's the beast pet of the number 1 prodigy of the school who made a breakthrough. I was so happy for nothing. Classmate and Lin's beast pet is already of the soul formation stage. Yet none of the students in our school are of the soul formation stage. How King embarrassing. Lu Qianhuan always slacks off. Otherwise, she would have taken over Wang Xuanzhan's team a long time ago. Sigh, students are so hard to teach. Not only were the school's higher-ups under immense pressure, but even the host, Enlin, was also under immense pressure. Enlin sighed. Xiao Chou, why didn't you wait for me? Are you trying to defy the natural order? Big brother it's all right, I'll protect you, Xiao Chou said sincerely. This sentence dealt another heavy blow to Enlin. He had fallen to the point where he had to rely on his own beast pet to protect him? No, he had to work harder. He had to catch up. After another half a month, Xiao Hong, who was photosynthesizing silently broke through to spirit nurturing final stage. And Lin, Master, you should bask in the sun more often. Otherwise, your cultivation base is going to rot, Xiao Hong said sweetly. Do you think I'm like you? No matter how suntanned I am, my cultivation base is still moldy." And Lin said with tears streaming down his face. His cultivation had now reached a bottleneck. He had been seriously cultivating for more than a month, but there were no significant changes. In the past, when he cultivated seriously, even if his realm did not change, he would always feel that he was a little more powerful. But now, no matter how much he tempered his core or tempered his body, there was no change. The key was to comprehend and materialize one's domain. This was the most important step between spirit nurturing final stage and half-step soul formation stage. And Lin felt that his aptitude was not bad. It was not like he had never broken through with his own strength. One day, he would be able to create his own domain. However, the pet beasts around him with heaven-defying aptitudes gave him too much pressure, causing his cultivation to soar. What if all his pet beasts were at a higher realm than him? Would others say that he was living off a woman? Pooh! He was living off a beast. Ah, what would become of him, the mighty sword immortal and Lin? However, things always took a turn for the better, and Lin's homeroom teacher, the flying sword god, suddenly announced a piece of news. A message from Earth states that the enchantment around celestial immortal Shou Yang's tomb will begin to loosen in 10 days. At that time, cultivators below the return to void stage can enter the enchantment with the jade talismans created by the celestial court to search for the inheritance. This was also an agreement made between celestial immortal Shou Yang and the celestial court prior to his death. 1,000 years later, he would welcome all elites below the soul formation stage from the celestial court to enter the Shou Yang's tomb to fight for his inheritance. And now, this moment has finally arrived. There are only 10 jade talismans. Earth has 2, and Xiaoxian United University has 8. Students who want to go to Earth can register with me, and the top 8 students will be chosen by the entire university. Most importantly, we don't know what lies within celestial immortal Shou Yang's tomb. We don't even know why he chose to set up his tomb on Earth. Everything is unknown, and the celestial court is unable to assess how dangerous it is. However, we cannot rule out the possibility that it may pose a threat to your lives. Hence, it's up to you whether or not you want to fight for this opportunity. Registration begins now. Celestial Immortal's tomb? Only an idiot would refuse this. This was the tomb of a return to void stage mighty figure that Lin could only dream of. Who would have thought that it would deliver itself to him? He didn't even have to think twice before signing up. Xiaoxian United University received over 600 registrants on that day, and almost all of the top 100 powerful beings on the Immortal Rankings board signed up. The next day was the time for the entire university to vote, and Lin undoubtedly received the highest number of votes in the entire university. The other 7 candidates were Lu Qianhuan, Tang Ximin, Su Qianyin, Xianyuan Cheng, Su Xiaolan, Yao Mingxi, and Hu Guan. Lu Qianhuan, Tang Ximin, Su Qianyin, Xianyuan Cheng, and Su Xiaolan were all top-tier powerful beings on the Immortal Rankings board, so their strength and popularity naturally went without saying. Yao Mingxi and Hu Guan were second-year and first-year students, respectively. They were basically the most powerful people in their year, so they had the advantage in popularity and also received the highest number of votes. It was worth mentioning that aside from Yao Mingxi, Hu Guan was also a die-hard fan of Lin's, and Lin could only sigh in exasperation. It was all this damned school legend's fault. After the candidates were confirmed, and Lin once again assumed the role of team leader. Why wasn't Lu Qianhuan the team leader? Because she had a criminal record. Everyone had a day to make all sorts of preparations. The first thing Lin did was to go to Do Shui Palace and find someone to refine over 20 spirit pills suitable for his father. He also found Yi Shi to refine a Yin Yang True Energy Immortal Pill. The Yin Yang True Energy Immortal Pill was a 7th grade immortal pill, and he had used his last immortal pill coupon to refine this immortal pill. After making all the preparations, he asked for his beast pet's opinions. There's a chance to descend into the mortal world. Who wants to go? I can't enter celestial immortal Shouyang's tomb, so I'm just going there to broaden my horizons. Xiao Hong shook her bright red head. I've already been there once. I've been photosynthesizing in the mortal world for over 100 years, so there's nothing I haven't seen, so I won't be joining in on the fun. Xiao Cho also shook his head. I've only broken through to soul formation stage not long ago, so I want to use the rich, vital energy around the full moon mountain to consolidate my cultivation base. I won't be accompanying you for now. And Lin nodded. In terms of cultivation environments, there really weren't many places that could compare to his university, so he could understand Xiao Chao's decision. Debai's eyes lit up upon hearing this. Are the girls on Earth prettier than the girls in the Kingdom of the Nine States? Woof! Almost everyone in the Kingdom of the Nine States is a cultivator, so in terms of overall quality, it's definitely better than Earth. However, there are also many beautiful female cultivators on Earth. I can introduce them to you. And Lin chuckled as he tried to seduce Dabai. He was still waiting to ride a supreme steed back home to Flex, so there was no way he was going to let Dabai off the hook. Seeing that Dabai was a little tempted, and Lin continued, I can also show you hundreds of nude portraits of different beauties. Big brother in, I want to go. Woof! Dabai was completely won over by Lin's words, and he excitedly agreed. And Lin nodded with satisfaction as a look of emotion appeared on his face. After 2 years, he finally had a chance to return home. How's your cultivation going, Dad? Fellow cultivators on Earth, how are you all doing? Tomorrow I and Lin will be back.